Hello and welcome to the Red Room. Our guest today is David Guyll. Hello, David. How are you?
Hey, I'm doing it's not bad, not too it's an okay day. It's just an average. It's the
It's
morning over
Monday.
here, so
Oh yeah, it's Monday. It's Monday and morning there. So Monday morning.
the
No.
whole day ahead of me.
So thank you for joining us on a Monday morning.
Oh, well, thanks for having me on a Monday evening for you guys.
Yeah, it's evening right now. So David is an RPG designer and also an illustrator, right?
Yeah, I would do our own art. I wouldn't call myself like a professional illustrator, but people like what we draw, so I get I'll go with that.
Well, I was checking your Dungeons and Delvers, and the illustrations are quite good.
Yes, they are professional enough for me.
All
They
right.
look
Exactly,
professional.
they look professional.
I am not an expert, but
Oh,
they look professional.
Well, so I do the line work, and my wife she does the coloring. So you gotta thank her for the making them pop.
Yeah, so it's a
Otherwise, it'd just
teamwork.
be black and white. Yeah, it also helps. I don't have to do all of it by myself. I do one half, she does the other half. So
You guys work together on, and you do everything, just the two of you, or is there someone else helping you?
just the two of us. We will play test with some people sometimes. Nowadays, it's usually our kids. For like plan an adventure, see if it works out, see if there's something that we missed. If it's too clunky. But layout, writing, design, art, we just do it all.
That's great. You don't have to expend some money on
It means that we
stuff.
take a long time doing stuff.
Yeah, okay.
Oh yeah, we save cash.
But you save them a lot of money.
But yeah, it does mean like, okay, we gotta get art for this. Well, we can't just, hey artist, do it for us. You gotta do it all.
Yeah, but it's a family enterprise then. And how old are your kids? Because I did saw in your in the book that you dedicated the book to your daughter, and you mentioned that you played with her.
Yeah. Son is 13, daughter's 10. Youngest daughter she's getting on 3, and then we got another one on its way. So play testing, the kids, they're gonna probably have more fun with things than I think an adult would. So it's they're not necessarily the best metric for determining whether or not an adventure is good quality. But my wife, she's she's good at that stuff. So they're just kind of there for the ride.
Yeah, I think it's interesting also because I have a niece and she's 7. She's turning 7 now, and I'm actually waiting. When can I start playing role-playing games with her?
Oh, well, with my daughter, I think she was 7 when I worked on a kid's version of the game for her, and that was to help her with math. So I would just say, right now she's 7, just do it. Just go for it.
I'm going to start with,
keep it really simple.
I'm going to start with kids game. I actually played one that is a game for kids. I ran it on Halloween with her and her friends, but the game has 2 different versions. So since it's for small kids, it has an option to do like a LARP. And that's what we did, because we couldn't sit 4 girls filled with sugar around the table to play. So we just did a LARP around the house, and they loved it.
What game was that?
It's a Spanish game. Let me see. I have it here. Just a second. Little Monster Detectives. It's a Spanish game that is translated to English. Okay, I printed on a PDF because it's not available on English, but it's it's good for small kids.
Okay. I'll probably bug you guys about that after we're done with this.
Yeah, I will send you the link.
Okay.
Well, and then you're working on the 2nd edition for Dungeons and Delvers. We probably should start talking about that.
Oh, yeah. So the first quote unquote edition, it was my D&D how I would do it. If I could do whatever I want to think, here's what I would have done, change the way magic and armor and hit points work. And at the time I thought, okay, this is everything I wanted it to do. But then later I thought, I think armor should just be damage resistance. I think that makes more sense. I think I should tweak some of the way some of the spells work. Flesh out other parts of the book that I feel like I didn't go into detail enough, or didn't do the best job I feel that I could have done, or things that I think are just missing, and maybe even remove things that I think aren't necessary. So I know it's only been like a year and a half, but I just want to try to iron out some more before I do any adventure settings, that kind of thing, because I don't want to do that and then have to go, okay, now I want to do a second edition, and now I got to redo all the stuff, or I got to update all the other things we do we would have done between those two things. So I just want to get it more firmly established, more ironed out, and then I'll build on it. And we got a bunch of adventures pretty much ready to go. I just got to do art for them. So much art.
Yeah, you have a full page of art, so we can see that you're not paying for it. But yes, it's a lot of work, right?
Yeah,
You
and
have
we
a lot of full pages.
yeah, well, we also let people use it for, I think we sell like art packs for like $5. So all the art in that book, if you want to use it, you want to use it for commercial stuff, and there's no limit to it. It's just like, just give us $5-10, get it all, just do whatever you want, recolor it, crop it. We will give you the full color, the black and white, and something that's just a line work with a transparent background, so you can color it however you want to if you really want to do that. Because we know some people, they don't have the money. They don't.
I was checking on Rifle.
Draw.
I was checking on Rifle, and I saw a lot of stock art there from awful good games.
Yeah, I know some people do like by the picture, but we just don't want to do that. So it's like, hey, here's 90 images, just $10.
The stock art is all by you?
Yeah. And I know it's not as good as like what other people will do that'll charge like $3, $4, $5 per picture. So that's another reason we just lump it all together. There you go. Just go.
Yeah, because there's a problem for a lot of people, right? That are making their own games. If they're not artists, if they don't have that talent, then they will always have big troubles with the art. And everybody wants the book to be as pretty as possible.
Yeah, and they might not have the cash. They might just be someone that's working a part-time, maybe even full-time minimum wage job, and they're just making ends meet. And again, we also do art for pretty cheap if people want something custom. It's like we just go at $75, I think, because again, we're not like the pros that'll like do all the texturing, painting, like make it look really, really, really good, like something you'll see like in a big company book, but we try to lowball it.
Actually, I don't really like what they are doing now in the big companies. The art, I mean. Also the games, but the art is a little bit okay. It all looks like cartoonish and Japanese anime or something like that.
I saw a WotC thread on Twitter where they're showcasing art, and it looks really bad. Like even the technique. There's this picture of a centaur, and I looked at it and thought, there's so many things that are off about it, but it's like a picture that you look at, and the longer you look, the more things you notice that are wrong. Like her arrow quiver doesn't match up. The armor looks very flat. There's a saddlebag on her back that's not attached to anything, so if she starts running, it's just going to fly off. The arrows, it's not on the wrong side, but she got her bow angle so the arrow would fall. It was so many things wrong with it, and I'm thinking, WotC supposed to be this big company, all this money to throw around. What is going on? It seems like they're the ones that are going, we need to go as cheap as possible. We need to cut every corner we can.
I don't even notice those details.
And there was more stuff, but that centaur was just the what?
The details. I don't even notice those details. I'm just the whole illustrations look not like, for example, in the second edition Dungeons and Dragons. Illustrations by Larry Elmore. Those were beautiful illustrations.
Elmore, Caldwell, Easley. There's like 3 or 4 big names that they did really good stuff, and you could see the technique and the care. Like you get the second edition player's handbook, you crack that open a couple pages in, you get the whole adventuring part of the dead dragon hanging from the tree. It's, I don't know what the heck went wrong. Again, except that, they decided, okay, you know what, we need to go as cheap as possible. Who cares? Just put a bunch of gender stuff in there. They'll buy it no matter what we do. And you said you didn't notice the details in that, like on the centaur or whatever. That might be, you might have subconsciously noticed them, and that may be why you're
probably
thinking this is terrible. Is like there's something off about it. Maybe you don't know what, but there's something wrong with it.
Yeah.
And then, like you're saying, the Japanese anime manga stuff, like I just do an actual Japanese anime RPG if you want to do that. I think someone did a D&D one that was all anime art, and that would be fine for people to like that, but that shouldn't be the main thing.
Yeah.
Like,
Yes,
here's
exactly.
our D&D.
Yeah, there's no problem with that, but okay, so if you are doing something that is supposed to look like that, okay,
Yes,
right.
yes. Like
But
a
if
Record
not,
of Lodos War, like campaign setting. Like that was an anime that was based off of a D&D campaign that a Japanese guy did. So that if you want to do that, I think that's great. But your default core American audience thing like that, D&D should not look like an anime because that's not what it's supposed to do. That's not what it's supposed to be.
of course. Okay, so just before we proceed, you sent me your book yesterday. Of course, I didn't have time to read it.
Oh god, it's like 500 pages.
Yes. So, but well, there was this chance to schedule the interview, so I thought it would be better to schedule it as soon as we could. So
Oh, sure.
so okay, so let us talk about well, you're not going to talk about it, you are going to monologue about it. You're going to talk about your game because you can't ask you much. Just a couple of things. For example, which is the set of rules that you use here? I think it's Dungeons and Dragons, but I'm not sure.
Yeah. So we started with 4th edition D&D. Hold on, not everyone run. With the idea we're gonna play it by the book, and we're gonna get rid of everything we don't like about it. We're gonna chop it out. We're gonna change it. And it turned out we didn't like 99% of it. So we didn't like the hit point bloat. We didn't like the +1 to everything every 2 levels thing. We didn't like the at will encounter daily stuff. So we got rid of all that. We kind of went back to 2nd and a little bit of 3rd edition for more mechanical inspiration. But in the end, we chopped hit points into 2 different pools: wound points, fatality points. Armor gave a bit of damage resistance, so if you're wearing plate armor and you get hit, it'll knock off a couple points. We changed the way magic works, so it made sense to us, because I don't like the pseudo-advancing magic, and I don't like it for every class. So we retooled all the magic systems to be more, okay, well, wizard magic is supposed to be like this, so it'll function this way. Cleric magic, it's miracles from the gods, so it'll function a different way. Instead of like, I know, and I think in 3rd edition and up, that's when they started, like, you could buy healing potions. It was just an assumed thing you could do, and I don't like that. So we put alchemical stuff in there, which was kind of inspired from one of the Witcher PS4 games. So you can get like a mending potion that'll heal you slowly over time. But there's a lot of other things you can do with alchemy as well. But what else did we change? Got rid of halflings. I didn't like them. So I swapped them up for Germanic kobolds. So now you can be a little short guy that can phase through stone. Or if you're a hearth kobold, you can create fire out of your hands, like a little torchlight thing. Some of the WotC specific monsters that you're not supposed to use, like mind flayers, we renamed them and kind of redesigned them. And there's some other stuff that we just kind of changed a lot of things about it that we didn't like. And I have like a bullet list of stuff that we did that could pop up. But is there anything specific that you wanted to know?
No, not really. Just an overview of it. So this is a 500 pages, 515 pages book.
Yeah, it's all in one. It's the player's handbook, DMG, monster manual matched together.
But there is no setting, right? It's just rules.
There's no hard setting, but the implied setting would be, kind of like a D&D implied setting of pseudo-European with a Asian monk tossed in for no reason.
Mhm.
Which that's one thing we're not going to do in second edition. We're going to bump the monk to our Asian specific book. So if you want to do that type of stuff, or you want to have like all the monsters and magic and any items that we can dig up on that, like that's all going to be a different book now, because just having a monk added in for no reason doesn't make any sense. And I just did it because that's what they were doing in third and fourth and fifth edition.
But
And also, I like our monk. I thought we did a really good job with it.
you already have. I'm looking and I'm looking at your stuff at the drive-through right now. There's no setting book here, right? These are adventures for Dungeons and Delvers. So there's a
Oh, there's
Krampus
one
Run,
adventure.
Escape from the Flesh Catacombs.
That's the one adventure,
Yeah.
and that one that's a 0 level adventure, where the kind of adventure hook is your characters were petrified by a gorgon. That's we don't call it a Medusa, it's a gorgon, and brought to a catacomb where she makes her lair, and the characters are restored to flesh because, unbeknownst to you at the time, a hero came down and killed the gorgon. So everything that she petrified turns back to flesh, but because it's all in the catacombs, and she would take the bodies of people that she would petrify and smash them apart, make weird sculptures out of them. So now they're all undead. So now the players, you basically have to, you carved away out of like a flesh wall that she made out of people, so it's skin now, and then you have to use torches that you find and other items to try to get past all the bizarre stuff in there. So it's like a survival horror, get out of there alive kind of deal. And you don't necessarily find out what happened unless there's a way you can get to the exit. But if you explore more, you'll find the hero who was also killed at the same time that he stabbed her. And you can get some items in it. And there's also a Pegasus in the back, because Pegasus was spawned from one of the Gorgon's blood. So
There's a Shambler. Nice picture.
the Shambler?
Shambler, I think. It's on the sample PDF, I think. There's a few monsters here. Unless I opened the wrong book, I don't know. Yeah, Escape from the Flesh Catacombs. There are a few monsters here.
There's one that's might not be appropriate for YouTube to look at.
Well,
I don't know if it's on there right now.
Probably not. There are four or five only. It's the preview. Okay, so what else is changing for the second edition?
Oh, so we're armor is now just damage resistance. It's not going to add your AC, but every class gets a defense bonus, so that's going to be your new kind of AC. Anyone can wear armor now. There's no penalties for doing so. Your character just has to be strong enough to wear it. So like you can have a wizard now and plate armor if you want, but we're really trying to fine tune the encumbrance system, so it's not like 5th edition where you can kind of just carry whatever you want and the carry capacity is so high, like you're never penalized by it. But so you could do that if you get the cash and the time to have someone, make a suit of armor for you like that. But I would, most characters now, they're wearing gambesons, so they get like a little bit of DR, and there's no real drawback to that. Weapons have a range of 0 to 5. So if you have a dagger and a guy has a spear, he's going to get attack you. Even if it's your turn, you're going to run in with this dagger, he gets to try to stab you first. So don't bring a dagger to a sword fight. Redoing a lot of the spells now. So before, wizards had to, the way their spells worked is like if you wanted fireball, you had to have burning hands, and you had to know burning hands, scorching ray. Those are like prerequisites. Like spells, they had different kind of trees you went down. We're kind of getting away from that because I think about it, it doesn't really make any sense, like why you have to know burning hands, then scorching ray. And it seemed neat at first and people liked it, but logically it doesn't really work for me. Some classes are going to get retooled, like the bard. They had a rhythm currency for their spells, but we think we found a way to do it where bards essentially have like infinite magic, but it takes time and it's not really major effects. It's more like if you're resting, they can heal you for more. If you see monsters, they can try to put them to sleep. But it's going to be more like subtle magic so they're not going to be like causing earthquakes and stuff or summoning things. But I think we can make it work, and it's mostly just me going, okay, what if when I think of a bard, what really makes sense that a bard would actually be doing, and not just going, D&D did it like this. Well, let's do it like this. Inspiration dice X times a day, combat inspiration X times a day. Because I don't like the per day thing unless it's rooted in some kind of logic. Like I don't like, 3 times a day you can do this. Why only 3 times? What is limiting you?
Yeah.
What else are they going to change? It was mostly just the magic, the armor. Hit points and wound points, or wound points, vitality points. They used to be static. Like if you're a fighter, you got 6 and 4 at level 1. Then you got like I think 4 and 2 every level. We found a way to make it so you roll on a table, so now you can actually get randomized, hit points like you did before, which I like. And redoing the prices on things because I don't like gold for everything. I don't know why gold has to be like the default currency. And we did silver for the most part, but then copper doesn't really have any kind of point. And I really, looking at medieval prices, things, were kind of cheap. They weren't, a knife wasn't like 5-15 silver pieces or whatever. It was like pennies. So, and then more monsters, changing some monsters. So it's a book where we need to redo it because we can't just go like, okay, so here's the book and here's a update document, read both things, and then figure out what's the new version of it, and then hopefully you don't make a mistake.
Okay.
But I guess it's natural, right? When you do a game, you think the first version is okay, but then you start playing, and then you start thinking about all the things that you could have done better.
Yeah, there's a channel called Legion of Myth, and I'm pretty sure the guy that runs it, Max, he said that whenever you make a game, the second edition is that's like your real game that you do. Like the first one is I think I got it, and then no, I don't got it. And the second edition is where you usually nail it down. I look at D&D and I feel like second edition is where they kind of nail it down. But
you can play test it and you can have people giving you some feedback, but it's not the same thing as putting it out there and people you don't know playing it and saying, okay, this is wrong or could be better.
Well, we play tested the first one for years. I was doing this old adventure path called Age of Worms that came out in 3rd edition, and we got like over halfway done with that, and then it's like, cool, the game's done now. We play tested it. We got to like level 17 or 18 or whatever. So you know what? I think it works. Let's go. And then after the fact, I'm like, I really should have done this different. And that could just be, like you make something and you're not really happy with it no matter what. So I feel like I'm just gonna have to get these little things done, and then stop and just, okay, I'm done. I did it. I gotta do these adventures that I've been really wanting to get done. Like I can't keep trying to tweak it and perfect it because I don't think it's ever gonna in my mind be perfect.
Yeah, if you are going to wait for perfection, you don't release
I'll never
anything.
get anything done.
Yeah, of course. I noticed that you have published some stuff for Dungeon World, which is kind of strange because OSR people usually don't like Powered by the Apocalypse, or else the ones I know.
I played Dungeon World back in 2012, 2013. And they were doing the 5th edition playtest stuff. And I was playtesting it and, trying to see like, okay, what do they do? What are they going to do with it? What are they going to do with it? And then I was like, oh, they're just doing like kind of 3rd edition. I already have 3rd edition. I don't care anymore. And I was kind of like burnt out on D&D. So I was like, what a friend was like, oh, let's play Dungeon World. And so I thought, okay, it's something new. And the first 3 sessions, I remember were like, oh, this is kind of cool. But then the more I played it, the more I realized how clunky it was and how things didn't make any sense to me. Everything's in this weird move structure. Have you played Dungeon World? Have you played it?
No, we played another game with using Powered by the Apocalypse.
Okay, so like the Mist, the 7-9, and the 10+ stuff. Like you get a 10 or higher, you do a thing. 7 and 9. There's
Yeah.
That really started to grate on me because it's like, okay, I want to pick a lock. Okay, well, roll your lock picking move. You got 7 and 9. What happens now? I guess guards show up, and I hated that because what if there were no guards around, or what if there were guards around? But the
Yeah.
thing is, they only show up because you screwed up on a trying
Yeah.
to pick. Where's the consistency?
That's kind of strange.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's the narrative side of that game, right? It's
Well, it's a bad narrative thing. I don't like
Yeah.
the ranger. No, there's a travel to the wilderness move. You can fail and the weather can turn bad. So basically, you walking around looking around for danger, you roll bad, and all of a sudden the weather gets worse, even though that's not related at all to what you were doing. That
Yeah,
really started to bug me. But we were really good at making classes for Dungeon World, and people really liked what we were doing. So that's why we just kept doing it. Like, we actually kind of quit playing after a while. And someone was like, man, I really like your skeleton was really cool. What are you gonna do next? I don't know. And so we started doing these things on G Plus where we put like a mummy, a spider, and all this random crap on there and let people vote on it. And then we would just do it. And then we just, okay, there you go. It's out there. Go away. And we like your sword mage. What are you going to do next? I don't know. We do the fighter class for Dungeon World. I like your fighter. And so it's kind of the thing where like we just did it.
So we can assume that people who are working for powered by the Apocalypse games aren't that good. They have to go get go get people who do OSR games and ask them to do their own stuff.
Well, I mean, Dungeon World, it was so badly done that they actually there was a fan made here's how you play Dungeon World book that someone else had to write to try to clarify it. And I remember thinking, okay, you know what? I don't really get Dungeon World. That thing, this thing, obviously, I got to read this fan guide. Oh, the fan guide didn't answer anything. So it's like, I don't even know if I ever played the game right. I kind of just ran it how I ran D&D.
Yeah, we had a problem with we played Cult with the new rules.
Yeah, we were playing also a cyberpunk game,
Yes,
but that one
we
is a
didn't
little
get
bit
to
different.
play. Yes, but we didn't get to play that one. But the rules
Yeah.
sound very strange. I started reading with a cyberpunk one, and I was reading these rules are weird, and I was telling him I don't think I want to play this.
The cyberpunk game doesn't use dice any, just moves. But I don't think you have to roll dice. I'm not sure.
What?
Well, I'm not really
That's-
sure.
But it has clocks, right? And there's a
Yes, there's a. I'm not sure if that's a powered by the apocalypse rule or if they've got that from
What?
somewhere else.
What is it?
Yeah,
Clocks?
clocks.
Yeah, it has
Oh,
some clocks, and
It's something to
eventually,
do with
whatever you do, yeah, the clock will get to a
Yeah,
point when
keeps
something will
ticking.
happen.
Okay, that's
There's
I-
another one. That's not,
Blades in the Dark. I actually
Yeah.
played Blades in the Dark for a little bit, and that one was really it was the lot, like doing stuff in that game was kind of frustrating because it was, oh, you're in downtime mode. You can do two things, and I remember thinking, why only two things? Like
Yeah,
we
it
can only
was
do
like
two
that.
things.
You had a period in which you could do several things, then you had another period in which you could do other things, and it was like cycles.
my
And it
problem with
doesn't
those
make any
games.
sense to me.
Yeah, my problem with those games is that they introduce rules to.
They're gimmicks.
Yeah,
They're just like, oh, we're gonna do it a new way, and we're just gonna, and they don't really think about, does this actually, like, if you were like, if we were a gang of thieves, why would we go, okay guys, so we're gonna do this mission, and then we're gonna have some downtime for like a day, and then we're gonna do the mission, instead of going like, hold on a second, whoa, why do we have to go like this, then this, then this, then that? Like, what if we don't want any downtime?
Yeah.
What if we want to take a lot of downtime? It's a gimmicky thing that makes it feel like more like a board game where like you have different phases of
Yes,
play.
exactly.
And that's very frustrating to do it. Like hey, D&D, the players have money, they can blow it all, go into staying at an inn, eating fancy food or whatever. Then they can try to go to a dungeon, whatever they want. It's all up to them. There's no, you guys get a week of downtime no matter what, then you must go to a dungeon crawl, and then you must do a week of downtime, and you can only do two things, even if what you're doing wouldn't take that long or would take longer.
it feels very
so
restrictive.
frustrating.
You can do what you want to do. Also, the game master can't do what he wants to do because he has to use those moves, and he can't just.
Yes. I don't like.
I can't work with that. Really,
Nope.
I can't work with that. Not that I am. I don't want to be a dictator. I just want to do things and not thinking. Okay, so it gets to be something like a, well, as we were saying, a board game. You're playing chess or something like that, or I don't know, a card game. You have to play ahead. You have to think what you're doing. So strategically,
Well, it's like playing
makes no sense.
well, it's like yeah, you would. I remember in Dungeon World, there's certain times where I wouldn't want to try to do anything that would trigger a move because I didn't want to roll because I didn't have a good stat and whatever. Because okay, if I do this, I'll have to roll this move, and my stat's not good in that one. I don't want to do that, so I got to think of a way to word it where the GM won't go, that sounds like a discern realities, and then make me roll wisdom. So you do things like you kind of meta in a really weird way, and it takes you out of it reminds you you're just playing a game. Everything you do is going to get shoehorned into a move of some kind, and then arbitrarily things will happen that probably don't make any sense to what you were doing in the first place. Or like, okay, you failed to do this, so now there's a trap, even though the GM didn't have a trap there, but he has to do something. You roll a 6, so that something bad has to happen. So now there's a monster, even though at the time there was no monster. And it's like, I'd rather just play D&D because then it's, okay, well, there's a door. I try to pick the luck. You fail. Okay, so let's just tear the door off the hinges. It's stone. Okay. Let's try to tunnel around the door. Screw it. Let's just go. Let's just destroy the door. Okay, so you guys have to blah blah blah. Dungeon World, no, it wouldn't be like that. You failed to do the door, so now thing happens.
Yeah, it takes the immersion. It's not an immersive system. Maybe it works for some people. Some people apparently prefer to play out of character, right? Like in the superior level.
My observation would be that they feel like if the DM has too much power control, they will dictate and kill their characters or some insane claim like that, or they feel like that their thief should not, because that was another way people would interpret some of the move results, is you pick the door, you fail, you get to the door anyway, but some other bad thing happens in the process, and so there are people that feel like that their thief should never fail at what they're doing, and the action should never stop. It should be like a nonstop roller coaster of things, and I feel like that's kind of a millennial generation type. You got to be thing. We failed. Now we have to think about a way to work around this. We can't do that. We get our sheet, the moves. We just want to roll our moves, man. Just let us keep going through the action until we win. That's what
I'm a millennial,
noticed.
but that's true.
I'm technically a millennial too, but
yes,
it's
I don't identify as a millennial. That's what I always say.
It's not all millennials, but I feel like that generation is most likely to think like that.
Yeah, because
that's
they won. I remember. Sorry, that they won medals. Not in my case, but for my sister that is younger, she won at school. They won medals just because for participating, and like there's no winners, so everybody's a winner. So you never lose, you never fail.
Yeah, that's our kids. They're doing the same thing. Like, oh, you showed up for a month without missing the class. Here's your first place blue ribbon for showing up. Like, what?
But anyway, my generation, which is Gen X, has adapted Powered by the Apocalypse too. There's a lot of people playing it and liking it, not just playing it. So it
became popular.
Went out, very popular. Probably it's dying down now, right? I believe. I'm not sure, but I think it's dying down.
Well, I could see that because the people that made those games, they don't support them. And they it's like a flash in the pan thing, and they go on to do other stuff, or they just quit.
If I'm not mistaken, the guy who did Dungeon World was canceled, right? Adam Cole.
Yeah. There was some kind of session thing with a robot.
Yeah.
Applied rape or something. That was whatever.
He kind of disappeared, I think. Well, I'm not sure if he probably can still do his own things. I don't know.
They weren't adding anything to the game anyway, and that was like that incident was like a couple of years ago, but they haven't added anything to it, which that's I mean, with me, I have adventures that I want to do. I just want to get the system nailed down. This isn't like okay, here's my game and now I'm done, or I'm going to go do something else. No. I'm building the game that I want to keep playing, and the things that I do with the game, I think people will like. So I'm going to keep, like, run an adventure where this or that happens.
Yeah,
and I'm going to write it all down in the notes and publish it. So this isn't like I just want some money or some attention. This is the game that I want, that does the things that I want, and that's why I'm doing it. If I was fine with like D&D or whatever, I would just use that. But I'm not.
And there's a lot of people at this moment that are not okay with D&D, so they need to look for alternatives, and they are looking for alternatives.
They need to look for it, or they need to make their alternative.
Exactly.
A Facebook server someone was talking about. I said, no, just you don't have to play 5th edition or whatever. You just, what do you like or hate about a D&D edition? Just change that and then use that. That could be your game. You don't have to keep buying like the quote unquote official version. You don't have to buy the, it's a fancy hardcover with all this crappy art in it. Just make your own thing and play with your friends.
Is that why you started? Because you weren't happy with the official things?
Yeah, like, so I played 2nd edition mostly as a kid, and then I played 3rd edition, and then I played 4th edition, and then I 5th edition playtest, and I thought, why am I waiting? Like, okay, WotC, I don't like where 5th edition's going. Like, I was really excited at one point at the very start because the sorcerer and the warlock, they were doing some neat things with those 2 classes, and I thought, oh, this is going to be cool. Then they're like, no, we're going to go back to what we just did before. The Pseudovancian, the sorcerer had like some kind of transformation thing that I thought was kind of neat, and the warlock had some kind of thing that you would roll where you would mutate over time, and I thought those were really cool ideas. And then I went on, we're not going to do those. Oh, that sucks. And so then I thought, okay, well, what do I like about D&D? I again, we played Dungeon Roll for a bit, and then I thought, and I want to go back to my D20 roads. That was funner. And so I just started with 4th edition because that's the last one I played the most. And then we kind of just house ruled it into our new game. And I think I could play 2nd edition and 3rd edition and enjoy them well enough. But why settle?
Mm-hmm.
Actually,
so you have been working with your wife. You both write and you both do illustrations, or you are doing different things?
She I usually do a lot of the design stuff. She doesn't quite have the head for mechanic design and things, but when she does, when she's playing, I don't like this ability. It's not very interesting. It's not very useful. So that's still useful to know, like this spell should do X damage based on this amount of point cost. That's not something that she's good at, but I don't want to take that. That's not worth it to me. And she is writing her adventures. There's a hex crawl she did years ago that we were going to do for Dungeon World. Dungeon World is also very frustrating to do adventures for, so we're going to convert that to this. And then she's doing an adventure that she wants to run for us and the kids. I don't know what it's about. She wants to tell me, but I said, no. Run me through it. I want to be surprised. It's got something to do with monkeys. I never played a game in a tropical setting with monkeys, so I'm very curious what she's doing with that.
I think it's interesting what you can do for kids, because of course it's different than what you do for adults, but kids are more open to anything that is strange. They don't have to make sense, right? They make their own sense if they like it.
Yeah, so they're great. Because even with them, I can go, okay, are they dying too quickly? Do I need to tweak the way the damage works? But I don't have to really worry. Actually, I think it's a bad thing. I wish they were more, but that doesn't make any sense because, there's the magic. Does it make sense? Like if you were to describe it in game and character, does it make sense? No. Okay, I got to change it then. But they don't really thinking about that. Which
yes,
that's but again, they're easily entertained. They want to have fun. So if they're having fun, that's also good. And I can still figure out, are they blowing everything up too easily? Are they dying too quickly? So there's still a benefit. And also, it's just hey, we're playing with our kids.
Yeah, that's cool.
Spending time with them.
You're creating role players for the future.
Yeah,
that
not dungeon.
May not play Strixhaven. That will want to play other stuff.
We're not doing that, and also we're not doing Dungeon Roll with them. That's for sure.
I was looking at your other games, and I found Fright Night. This one is the odd one off. So
that's okay. That's technically the first RPG we did. That was on a whim with a friend before we moved, and he got us to play Fiasco,
That
which I
was
don't know if you've played Fiasco.
I never did, but I know it's
No,
it's,
no,
kind of
it's
famous.
It's terrible. We played through it twice to make sure maybe it was just a bad. No, it's like Dungeon World where like you meta all your decisions. Like we weren't like organically playing our characters through a little weird disaster movie plot. It was like, okay, I have all these white dice. I need more, so I got to make sure I do stuff that'll. Even if I was trying to trick players into giving me more white dice, or if I had more black dice, I got to get more black dice. I gotta roll these, and I got to figure out what my ending is at the end. So you're just kind of gaming the system no matter what. So it creates very kind of watered down, shallow, artificial, like movie plots conclusion. But he wanted to do something his own, like, oh, we'll do our own game, and so he wanted to do a horror themed game. And so this is like his idea of how did it work? It was kind of a story gamey kind of premise thing where like you go through scenes, and there's a showdown, and there was a way you had to roll to figure out when the showdown happened. So it wasn't always the same way. And then you would randomly roll what the monster was. We had a bunch of tables for that. I forget what they were. I don't remember how a lot of the game worked, but you basically, it was like you want to play like Halloween or The Fly or Alien. You could do it for like any time period. And the characters were very simple. Like you had stats like brawn and brains and agility or something, and a stat for like keeping her cool. And so when you got hurt, you would lose dice in different stats. And then when you ran out of dice, when you had no more stats, you were just dead. That was on a whim thing, and no one really cared about that. But Buddy was like, let's make a game, and I thought, okay, I'll help you do this.
But do you also like horror games, or was just an experience?
Oh, I like horror stuff. I like the horror genre. Flesh Catacombs is definitely a horror game, and we did a Dungeon World adventure called Litchfield that was like a Silent Hill type thing.
So what kind of movies do you like, or books, whatever, in the horror genre?
I can't think of any horror books. Like, I guess cosmic horror, Lovecraft stuff.
Lovecraft,
yeah, that's the only thing I really think of that's definitively like horror. I mean, I'm really scared by. I did read those Scary Stories Tell in the Dark books, and I did have these other books. Like, I forget who wrote them. I want to say Bruce Colville. It was like the Book of Monsters, Book of Aliens, Book of Ghosts, or something. They were kind of like, they were like for kids. But horror movies, Aliens. Again, The Fly counts. Halloween series, although most of them aren't very good. Same with Friday the 13th. I watched a lot of those. Sinister, with the guy watching the videotapes of people getting killed, and
I know the name. That's not an old movie, right? That's a kind
no.
of recent.
I mean, it's not just
recent.
old stuff. Yeah, I think it was a Japanese movie called Haze. It's like a guy trapped in hell or something. It's been a long time, but there's a part where like he's crawling along, like grinding his teeth on pipes because he's trapped and stuck in a thing where that's all he can move, like going through these narrow hallways. It was pretty messed up. Actually, that makes me think of horror manga. Junji Ito, Uzumaki is a good one if you want to read manga that's got some weird stuff in it. Gyo, about farting people, is not scary. It's kind of funny, but it's disturbing, a lot of imagery, but it's still kind of silly. And there's manga renditions of some Lovecraft stories. Like there's Mountains of Madness. So if you don't want to read the Lovecraft books, because I know some of them can be kind of wordy and go on far, but there's manga adaptations of those.
It's very big in Japan, right? Call of Cthulhu.
Is it?
I think so. At least the game.
Yeah, the role-playing game. It seems.
Yes, the role-playing game. I guess Japanese love their tentacles.
Yeah. I never played Call of Cthulhu. I had, I think, the 6th edition book, but I never got a group that wanted to play it.
It was one of the first games I played, probably the second, I'm not sure. The first one was
Oh,
the
wow.
Dungeons and Dragons. Well, okay,
Okay. Oh.
and then I moved on because I didn't play Dungeons for much time. I think a couple of years, maybe 3 years tops, not more than that. And then I moved, I think, and it was I moved along into horror, especially, well, Call of Cthulhu and then Vampire.
We played Vampire, although we were teens. We did not play Vampire the way you were supposed to play Vampire. Same with Mage.
You started playing when 90s?
Yeah, I started with I always figure it's called. It's like the easy to master D&D game. It came in a black box. I did that for like a few months, and then I got into 2nd edition, and that's what I made. I mostly played that until I got to high school, and then it was Rifts, and then from Rifts we went to Shadowrun and Star Wars, and again Vampire and Mage and Werewolf, and you had games where like, I'm playing a Mage, other guy's playing a Vampire, other guy's playing a Werewolf. I don't know what we're doing together, but we're doing stuff, and none of it, again, it was just stupid shit we were doing. Like you'd be like, that's not how you're supposed to play Vampire. You're not supposed to be running around killing people. But we were just dumb kids.
I played only Vampire, not the other World of Darkness games, just Vampire. Well, later there was a kind of, I'm not sure if it was really a line, but there was a lot of books that were for playing humans.
Hunter?
No, not really that one. It was, I'm not sure what the edition of World of Darkness, when they called it World of Darkness, and there were some books that were not really a game line. It was kind of a source books that could be used in any of the lines. But if you just bought those ones, you could play a regular horror game like Call of Cthulhu or something like that. Because you could play humans and investigate the occult. There were books about spirits and ghosts and things like that. There wasn't really a name for that. Just a series of books about.
Yeah, when I went to World of Darkness, I'd already stopped playing like World of Darkness vampire stuff at that point. I had no experience with those games. I'd seen them, and I'd heard of like Hunter, and I think there's Demon the Possessed or something.
There's one about demons,
mummies and changelings and wraiths.
Raids. I own the Changeling book. I forgot why.
Yeah, the changelings. Yes.
I bought it, and I don't know why we never touched it.
I think we know someone who played that. I think she liked it. A friend of ours. I'm not sure. I don't think I've ever saw that game.
Yeah, I don't think really anyone cared about Changeling. I never knew it. I think we had Wraith, and I think someone was trying to plan a Wraith game one time, but then we couldn't get into it. Like no one, we're ghosts in the ghost realm, and let's play vampire, and I want to be the strong vampire and punch things apart and throw cars, because that's what you do in Vampire, right?
Superhero vampires.
Yeah.
Super villain vampires.
Well, it was like playing a Riffs just in modern day. Like that's we're all just playing juices or whatever, punching people apart and whatever. Like we didn't play it right. I don't think we even played like Star Wars right.
That was the West End games, Star Wars.
We did that. We did the D21 one time and did not enjoy that. We want to roll lots of D6s. Let's go back to that.
Those rules were much simpler. The D20.
Yeah, it was definitely simpler and more straightforward. But it's like, well, we like the dice pool thing. We were familiar with that.
Yeah, when we are used to playing one type, then it's strange to move to something completely different.
That's kind of
what the hell is this?
Oh, like teenage grognards. What? D20 in Star Wars? Get that off my lawn.
So what was the first thing you wrote meant for publishing?
Something Stirs in the Black Scale Breaks. That was a dungeon world adventure. And I'm pretty sure I haven't seen it in 9 years, and I'm pretty sure it's crap. Because that was the first published adventure to do, and of all things for Dungeon World, which if you haven't played Dungeon World, the way you're supposed to format adventures is really, it's bizarre, it's clunky, it is pointless. How they want you to establish things called fronts, like the problems to deal with, and the fronts have an impending doom, and so you're supposed to like map out like the evil. So if you're gonna do like a front, be like, okay, evil wizard, here's his plan. He's gonna subjugate the nearby area, get a bunch of sacrifice, like it's a checklist thing, and then the impending doom is he opens a portal and the demon comes out or something like that, and then like that's a big problem. But they want you to map all this stuff out for like, even if you don't really need one, you got to kind of, well, what kind of, because again, you got to, the bad guy is this thing. I have to shoehorn it into one of the existing front categories. There's only like 6 or 7 or 8 of them. So what's the bad guy? You know, he's got to fit in one of those things, and then they have all these preset moves to choose from, what he can do. So it's all very rigid. It's very clunky. It's very frustrating.
Yeah, when with the adventures that we got to play with that rules, I always felt a very railroading. It just, this will happen no matter what.
Well,
There's no space for.
Well, the players are supposed to be able to mess with the front, which just means then you have to, the different steps have to change. But then if they got to change anyway, then why do you got to map them out in the first? I mean, it's like with the adventure I did, it's just, there's a dragon like was massacring an elven village. They trapped it in a tree, and then it started corrupting the forest and turned it into a swamp. So it's a slowly expanding swamp. And so the idea is that, you know, the players can go there and they can go to the elven ruins. They can try to kill the dragon off permanently or stop it. Like, it's going to awaken at some point. There's also lizard men tribes that they can deal with, and different, like there's another dragon lair to go into. That's all I want to do. It would be like something to do with a hex crawl, but it's Dungeon World. So when I show Dungeon World players this, where's the fronts? You gotta have the fronts. You gotta have the impending doom. Well, I don't need any of those things. You got it. It's done. And the Dungeon World community, they were very much like, no, you have to do it like this. It must be like this. And it's like, okay, okay, I guess that's the way you got to do it. And you know, we just kind of set the classes because, again, adventures was really kludgy to do that. We did make some more adventures, but D20 I feel like would be so much more elegant and streamlined, and you know. We're going to convert those over at some point, but that was the first thing we did, was this adventure that in retrospect, I felt like I don't like it because of what I feel like we were told we were supposed to do a certain way, which was actually a very bad way. And then we just started doing like the Vansomancer class. We did a skeleton. That was like mostly supposed to be a gag, but people liked it. So we did a mummy, a ghoul, a vampire. We did like a whole undead thing because people liked it. Should have did the D20 thing sooner, actually, in retrospect. Should have said, I don't want to Dungeon World at all, let's go D20. I feel like we would have been in a better place right now and not wasted our time doing Dungeon World stuff.
There aren't many adventures for powered by the Apocalypse games, right?
I can't imagine there would be, and if you tried to write one just on a whim as an exercise, you'd understand. Well, if you wanted to see why there's not, try to read the book, and if you can get through that, try to shoehorn an adventure into the structure, then you'll go, wow, I know no one wants to do this. This is stupid. This is a waste of time.
So what do you think? Do you have an idea what happened to the people that were playing Dungeon World? What game do they moved on to?
I don't think they moved on to anything. I think they just one of them, I think, just stopped doing stuff in general, and then the other guy, Adam, he just started doing stuff on Twitch, as far as I remember.
Yeah. No, but the people that were playing, do you think so? There's nothing. What kind of things do you think they moved to?
Well,
if you just had to guess.
They probably went to. If I had to guess, the nicest thing I could say is they probably are still playing Dungeon World. But I think a lot of them, they wanted to make their own RPG, and so they just take Dungeon World, they hack it and make another. I don't think Dungeon World's very well designed. I don't think it's a very good game, and I think people like it because it seems simple, but also it's almost like obscurantism in a way where you can do stuff with it, and if you screw up, no one can really say you screwed up because it's all so vague and weird. And I think that's what people like it or pretend to, because they can make kind of a crappy, watered down hack of a hack. And then you can't really challenge them on it because, well, I didn't do it wrong, because there's really no clear thing to do with it in the first place. And so I think that's what a lot of them did, was shoved out like, some kind of 10, 20 page, it's powered by the apocalypse, but it's like Call of Cthulhu. It's powered by the apocalypse, but it's Wild West. It's any game that exists, they do a apocalypse world version of that. And
Yeah,
I've heard of them like back in the day when G+ was still a thing. That's where I'd see most of the stuff, and they were pretty much universally just awful. I didn't like any of that stuff, and I don't know why people would. When they do it, it's easy. They get attention. They can get money. They can do a Kickstarter.
lots of Kickstarters.
Lots of Kickstarters
Yeah.
for games that like people are not going to play. They're not going to care. They're not going to remember. And it just reminded me of back in 2000 when D20 opened the OGL license, open game license. Everyone did a D20 thing. Everyone was doing it, and it was mostly crap. We saw the third-party stuff. My group didn't like most of it. Dungeon World, the Pox World, I think it's the exact same thing.
So what's your take on the other games that are popular now, like Morkborg and all that stuff, all that pretty stuff?
Well, okay, Morkborg, I did a review on. I did not. I hated that. It was so bad. I'm sorry if anyone likes it. The art looks like crap. The layout looks like crap. I don't understand the mechanics. Like, I don't understand what the point of the game is. It seems like you take D&D, you shave it down to almost nothing. You rename some stats, and it's a game. I don't need Morkborg to do. It made me think of like, I don't think it was supposed to be like a Dark Souls, grimdark, crap world type thing. But that's what it kind of felt like they were going with, and I thought, well, I can use a Dark Souls with D&D. I don't need this. I don't need this with like, there's no skills, there's no like items. Like if I want to go to an inn, how much does that cost? If I want to buy a horse, how much does that cost? If the weapons, there's barely any weapons in there, and the hit points. Nothing about it seemed innovative. It just seemed kind of normal or tweaked in a really weird way that didn't make. I don't know why they would do that just for the sake of being different. So I didn't like that. I also recently looked at Troika. I also hated that one. I guess I don't like a lot of the stuff I'm seeing, except for Pundit Lion and Dragon is not necessarily a new thing, but that one I actually did like.
A few years old already.
It's a few years old, but it looks like he cared, and there's a lot of stuff in there. Like, and if I'm playing Lion and Dragon, I know how much it costs to stay. I know how much it costs to buy a horse. I know how much it costs to buy food. There's rules for this. There's rules for starving. There's tables for like looting things. I don't see that in a lot of the new stuff. Like
we
Troika
don't
and
play
Lorca.
fantasy, but I bought that one because, well, just I was curious to take a look at it.
It seems like a complete game, and that's what I'm looking for. And a lot of the new stuff I'm seeing, it seems like a fifth of a game, but with random stuff change. I don't have Index Card RPG, but I watched a YouTube video of a guy trying to review it, and there was like, if you play a fighter, you can start with the random trinket thing, like it's a weight you put on your sword to get like a bonus to hit. I think my thought was, if it's just a weight on the sword, why can't I just have one of those anyway? Oh, this is a thing you can attach to your shield. Like, why can't I just build that? Why do I have to have why is this a special unique thing? It feels like the D20 glut, the Dungeon World glut. People just, I'm going to do my own game, and they don't really think about it. They don't think it through. They don't really, they're not complete. Like I can't play Morkboard or Troika, I would have to use I would have to use like a version of D&D, which wouldn't fit because they're not really D&D games, just to get like a price guide on basic things that you should have access to in this game.
Yeah, I guess a lot of people want to make their own game, but making a game is not easy.
It's not easy, but you could easily look at
If you
third
want it
edition
to be
and go,
complete.
well, yeah, well, you look at second edition, third edition, even fifth edition, I would say, they do a lot of the work for you and going, okay, so I need to make sure in my game, the players know how long they can hold their breath. And you could say, well, I shouldn't have to go, we're going to play this game, guys, and we're also going to tack on third edition because I don't know how far you can jump, and there's no rules for starvation or hunger, dehydration, or foraging, or holding your breath, or any of that. So we got to look over here and, I don't know, make it work somehow. No, that should all be in there. Climbing walls should be in there.
All those, I'm not sure if I perhaps this is actually what happened, but all those games seem that they were made by designers, so they aren't pretty, but they have that design look, stylish, yes. And well, okay, they probably have no content, but they are presented that way. They are all very similar, not necessarily the same, but the same concept. It's something that you have there, an object, and you can look at it, and you can say, okay, I have this one, and I have that one, and they are very fashionable.
Yeah, they have a.
Can I use them to play? No.
Yeah, well, Morkborg has a style. I don't like the style. I think that if the art was consistent and if it was better quality, yeah, I still wouldn't. I would just say make an art book. Give me an art book. Give me a Morkborg art book, and let me attach those pictures. Oh, this thing looks like a goblin. Okay, so I'll run D&D, and I'll use when the players find a goblin, I'll say it looks like this. It looks like this thing right here. The skeleton's going to look like that thing covered in blood over there. Just do that. Don't try to frame these very shallow, incomplete mechanics around it, or just do that, and then then do like what we did with our game. It was this. Me and my wife, we did all this stuff. We have all these pictures, all this art in there, and yeah, it took like a couple of years, but also we're dealing with kids at home. I mean, if you're a designer by yourself, this shouldn't take you, especially if you're just going to use like an existing D&D as a foundation and maybe tweak it a little bit. It shouldn't take you that long, and then you kickstart it. You pay one artist like a crap load of money to do all the art, so you get nice consistent look and feel, or maybe 2 or 3 artists, so it's mostly consistent. I feel like these people, I don't understand why they turn out the way it did. It's really disappointing. It's also confusing because I want to. It'd be nice to see what are people doing with their games and go like, that's a really good idea. I like that idea. I like the way that this thing looks or this concept. I want to use that, but I'm not seeing that. I'm just seeing a lot of like, okay, well, that's not done. It looks like crap. This mechanic doesn't make any sense. Why do it? Like, there's a usage die. And it was something that Pundit mentioned. It was a usage die thing where you have gear. Maybe it was a different game. I feel like a couple of games do this where you have arrows and it's got a D10 die or something. And so whenever you use an arrow, you roll your D10. If you get I think a 1 or a 2, it goes down to like a D8 and then a D4, a D6, D4, then it's gone. I don't understand why you would do that. Like, what can you not? Is it really hard to count? My kids can count arrows. They got 20 arrows. They mark one off. So why do you have to do this random die thing? And then that means like, oh, I got a quiver of arrows, guys. I got a full quiver. Cool. Well, hold on. I might run out after 5 shots. How many arrows in your quiver? D10. No. Individual arrows. How many are in there? I don't know. It says D10. I also have D6 of food. So how many days of food is that? Could be 5, could be 2. It depends on what I roll in my usage die. And I hate that mechanic. I don't know. I'm sorry to ramble about this random thing, but it's supposed to be an interview about my stuff, or shifting gears.
Well, it's a opinion anyway. Okay,
Yeah.
going back to your background as a gamer. after Dungeons and Dragons, and well, you never stopped playing Dungeons and Dragons, I suppose.
I did for Dungeon World for a little bit.
Mm.
That was a mistake. Listen, I was young. I was in my 20s. I was impetuous. But no, D&D's been like the main thing that I've been playing. It's the the most of the thing. I guess fantasy has been what I've always played. And that's I have actually a hard time like doing sci-fi stuff like Shadowrun. I just plan on a building and a whole thing, and that's hard for me to do because I haven't done that. I'm doing a Wild West, Weird West game, and I got to do a lot of research on frontier stuff because I don't know how that's supposed to work, like the layout of a town or a village, or what a mine might look like, or even what a stable might look like. So I do a lot of research on that stuff because I want to try to get it right. I'm not gonna like put a book full like floor plans, but I just don't want to bullshit a bunch of stuff about the West and be wildly off the mark on everything.
Yeah, that's the hard part, to do research for the game. I think it's harder than writing the game itself, and can be a little bit boring unless you really like reading about the subject. But I guess tables are not that interesting.
No, I can say that I don't like that part. Research, I hate that.
Well, for YouTube, make some of that research very easy. There's a channel called Shadowversity that if you want to look at primarily fantasy stuff or medieval stuff, he has a lot of videos on what did people eat back then, what did buildings look like, why were they made that way. So you can use that to kind of inform, like how should armor work in a fantasy game, what type of weapons might this or that monster race use. It might not be like things you would use or use the way he does it, but it gives you insight of, like, he did a video a couple months ago on potions, like drinking potions in combat. He actually tries to drink one while he's fighting the guy to show up, oh well, it's actually not as easy as you think. So that's and you could take those things and think, okay, well, I don't want to deal with that in the game. I'll just say drinking a potion, standard action, no problem. Or you could say, okay, well, they drink a potion, but the enemy gets to attack you. They get to make an attack against you or something. You can kind of use that as a foundation to go, how realistic do you want this to be, or how complex do you want it to be is another important thing. But that's partially I thought armor should be damage resistance, is because you're wearing plate armor. Well, they can hit you, and I know in D&D, you miss on the attack roll to miss doesn't mean they actually missed you. It can mean they hit you but not do damage. But then you have the issue with fighters that are just as easy to hit no matter what the level is as a typical commoner. And I feel like a fighter, level 10 fighter, he should be harder to hit with things than a peasant is, with or without armor on, because it is this combat experience. So that's why I'm just going to do the defense thing. And
makes sense.
So there's the thing. It makes sense. It's and I'm trying to avoid making things too complex while at the same time making things a little more logical. Because I know it's not a reality simulator; it's a game, but you make things too illogical and realistic that can pull players out, like with Dungeon World. It pulls you out, and you go, "I'm just playing a game. I got a meta game."
Most games don't. I'm not sure about that, but well, I don't know most games, but it seems that most games aren't that worried about being logical about things, right?
Well, I think there's a gradient on it where you don't want to be too illogical. Where there was one. This was a long time ago. Someone mentioned a game where they wanted to do like a D&D game where you kill a monster and you get experience orbs out of them. And there was no real explanation as to why monsters have experience point orbs that you get. And I thought that was really stupid because there's no explanation as to why. And like with armor, the D&D armor class, you're a fighter, you have an AC of 18 with full plate, we'll say, you get attacked by an ogre. So you're going to tell me this ogre with a giant club wallops you, and he rolls a 17, which means that he probably hit you, but so the club doesn't knock you around. It doesn't, you know, like you're not like getting hit by a car, like wearing plate armor. You're not going to feel anything. Like this, nothing happens. It's no damage. That doesn't make any sense to me. That's too far of a disconnect. So we just changed it now to damage resistance. So yeah, your armor will cushion you, but that ogre's going to hit you. Make a save to avoid getting knocked to the ground. You're still going to probably take some damage. He's not going to tomato can paste you. Well, he might, but maybe not right away. And that's a simple change. And now you have more players can go like, okay, so we can't just walk in front of this ogre to fight it, hoping our armor is going to bounce his club off, or he's going to throw a rock, it's going to bounce off. Assuming he rolls low.
Yeah, even in sometimes in the game, that's really frustrating. If you are trying to hit an enemy and you can't because you can't pass the armor, then what the hell am I doing here? I'm never gonna be able to kill this guy or this monster. Let me just run away.
That's why in Delvers, we added the rule called it's a gang up rule, where if you attack a monster, weapon, spell doesn't matter, the next attack gets a +1, then the next attack gets a +2. So the idea is that, you know, if you got one guy and he's got to fight off like 4 adventurers, he's distracted. Oh, there's one guy trying to stab him and another guy runs up to try to like, so, and that actually also adds some strategy to the game. So if you're playing like a rogue, maybe you let the fighter run up to hit the guy and then you slink around the back, and now you're going to get a +1 to hit. You're going to get your sneak attack. Wizard could try to, because again, even if it's a magic effect, it still does that, because, you know, if you're trying to charm someone, they're going to shake that charm off, that still distracts them. So this was a way where you can queue up your actions to get an escalated, and then it resets at the end of the round. But it's a way to try to hedge your odds.
Yeah, it makes sense. Once again,
even a wizard with a spear can hang back from 10 feet away, try to stab the monster. You know, he might not hit, but someone's getting that +1. Someone's getting that +1, so he has a reason to do it no matter what, because he's helping in some fashion. And that's and then we also have another one where if you exceed the AC by enough, you deal bonus damage as well, because you really landed that blow. You connected really well.
But being realistic right now, it's probably not even important, because for example, Dungeons and Dragons isn't meant for combats right now, right? It's meant for playing baristas and something like that. So why combat?
Wait, I said me, why combat?
Well, I don't know.
Or
if the characters aren't supposed to die, if they aren't supposed to suffer, they can they are supposed to win everything. So
that's 5th edition.
Yeah.
The 5th edition is going to be like the new 4th edition, where no one likes to talk about it. Or whatever. Actually, 6th edition. I don't know how they're going to make that one worse. They will. Oh, they're getting rid of all the stats. We actually didn't have stat penalties in Delvers, but I'm bringing those back because why not? Now elves are going to be -1 con, because we didn't have them, not because races got stat modifiers like bonuses, but we got rid of the penalties. No one mentioned it, so I think we just didn't put them in, but now we're going to bring them back. So kobolds, they're going to have a strength penalty, and dwarves get the charisma. Humans get like nothing. They're going to get like I think bonus skills or something. We got to have something to incentivize you to play a human.
Yeah. Though we don't play that much fantasy, like I told you, but I don't see myself playing another race. I would probably play as a human.
Yeah, that's what I usually play anyway. Yeah, well, we have a table that you can roll on. The GM can actually say you have to roll on this table that actually determines, can you play anything but a human? Because we want to reinforce the idea of humans are the dominant race. What is your guys' favorite genre?
Horror.
Horror?
Yeah.
Well, like modern horror, or like
especially modern horror. Yeah.
Modern horror. Okay.
But we also play some science fiction.
Also. Yeah, and I'm trying to get a little bit on dark fantasy, but with low fantasy.
Low fantasy?
Yeah, like dark and not with that much fantasy. That's one of the reasons why we bought Lions and I
Oh,
forgot
yeah.
the name, the
Dragon.
Pundit's book. Yes,
Lion and
Lions
Dragon.
and Dragon, because it has a more real feel, right? Less fantasy world and more medieval.
Well, as he says,
Europe.
medieval authentic.
Yes,
Yeah.
exactly.
We'll probably play one day Whitechester because, well, I backed it and I'm helping with it, so kind of.
But that's
Gotta
fantasy.
get your
That's
money's
really
worth out of it.
fantasy. Yeah, that's
That's
historical zombies.
yeah, Grim Jim's game which is working on right now. It's a 17th century. It takes place in a town that was surrounded, and there was a zombie apocalypse, and the characters go there to, well, check on what is going on after the apocalypse.
Yeah, but there will be magic, some magic there also.
Yeah, Sam.
Well,
that part I don't know about yet.
Well, in the argument in Delvers, you don't have to use anything magical. The game is not built around the idea that you will need a cleric to heal you, that you will need magic items. I mean, you could, there's, there are monsters in there. You can put them in there if you want. In the similar vein, I would say Lion and Dragon, where you can use the ones you want, but nothing is assumed. So you can't just say, okay, we're gonna play the game. You can only play fighter, rogue, and that's it. Like our ranger doesn't have built-in magic, so you could even allow the ranger. And then you could just use the way there's a lot of bandits. There's stats for bandits and other normal people in the back as well, and also normal animals. So you can really dial it up how you want. And then if you want to add in the little magical things, you can do that. There are rules for, like, if you find spell books or scroll, like how Call of Cthulhu, or I guess Lovecraftian horror, you didn't really have people, they didn't have to be like trained wizards to use spells. People could try to do it on their own. You can do that as well. So if you're a fighter that finds a ritual scroll of something or other, you can learn how to cast that, although it does damage to you. So you gotta
and we did play fantasy recently, so we played The Witcher.
Okay.
But nobody was playing, because we like the computer games and I like the books, but nobody was playing a magical. There was no magic there. It was a thief dwarf and a warrior, a human warrior.
Yeah.
I guess
I was playing the warrior. I always play warriors. I can't play anything else. I think probably not. I never tried, at least.
Well, in Delvers, you can also kind of control the character complexity. So if you don't want to play wizard because you thought they're too complicated, you can make it very simple wizard that's still useful and effective. If that was the issue. I know some people don't like playing magic uses of D&D because all the crap you got to deal with and juggle and memorize.
Yeah, probably. I think there's another reason for that, because when I started playing, I started by Dragonlance. I don't know if you ever played it.
I've heard of I haven't played, but I read some of the novels.
Yeah, there wasn't much magic in there, so I don't know, I got stuck with that. For me, it's like magic should be something that is rare, and
yeah, no, I totally agree with that. You gotta, if everyone can use it, and that's also we had at will spells at one point, and then I got rid of it because I didn't like the idea of a wizard going, magic, missile, magic, like pew pew pew. So we ditched that because I think that if everyone could use magic, that really waters it down. And 5th edition D&D is indicative of that. Like everything has magic. Everything's got access to magic. Like there's even, I think the fighter can choose a magic archetype to use to get spells. The magic's like everywhere. It kind of just it makes it kind of feel mundane after a point. Like, oh, this guy's
it's kind of like a computer game, right? You can be everything you want to. Well, Skyrim, for example, you can be a warrior, but then okay, I'm going to be a magician now, and then whatever. You just in a couple of weeks you learn everything you need to know.
Oh, it's kind of like the race is no stats. You're no longer a distinct archetype. You're a blob of whatever.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah, that doesn't appeal, right?
No.
Yeah, but normally when I play, I don't. So we don't play that much fantasy. But if we're playing a science fiction game, I will never be the hacker. because I don't want to go into that. Or we're
Yeah.
playing a game with
Well,
that has psionics. I don't want to play play
it's
a
basically
psionic.
the same thing. Mechanically, it's the same thing. It's the guy who has a set of rules that
The guy that has the magic. It's the same.
Yeah.
It's the magic.
see,
The same.
there's a mini game for that person. The magician, the psionic, and the hacker. They all have a mini game. So that's kind of it's more rules for that person.
well,
And
we're working on a science. It's more of like a science fantasy, not fiction thing, but we're not doing the hacking mini game crap. I remember Shadowrun had that, and
Yeah.
one person tried doing that. We were all bored waiting for the guy to get done, and so then after that point, it's like, okay, no more deckers, and like, oh, we got to hack. Like, we're just gonna blow up the door. We're just gonna go around, smash a window or something. We don't want to deal with the like waiting for the guy to get done with.
Yeah, it's
the thing.
boring. It gets really boring when you're not even for the hacker. So when we were playing Infinity. It's the D20, and it was just me, so I was the only player. So I had to do some hacking. So it was an NPC, and it was really good at hacking. I was just using his stats, but still it was boring because we just and then he got he did everything just with hacking. So what the hell is my character doing here?
See, I think it would be better just to say, okay, you want to hack something. What are you trying to do? Get information. Okay, well, make a hacking check really quick. What are you guys
Yeah.
doing while he's doing that? It's going to take you like, we'll say, 1d4 times 10 minutes. So while you're doing that, what are you guys doing? And then everyone else gets to do something, we're just going to wait for him to get done. Okay, so 20 minutes later, you get this. Now what are you guys doing? Like, just speed through the thing. You don't got to do a whole thing out of it.
That's how I'm handling it. Like right now, you are playing one of my settings. It's not really cyberpunk. It's a mix, cyberpunk, biopunk, cypunk, several things. But there's a hacker, and I just say, okay, what do you want to do, and then you roll it because there are some rules, and the game is kind of similar to Cyberpunk 2020, the mechanics. But so there are rules for hacking. But okay, let's not go into there. There are many steps to get into. It's probably if you can easily do it, it's probably interesting. But if you don't know the rules,
oh yeah, I remember Shadowrun had pretty weird rules for like you had different programs for stealth and for attacking and stuff, and it would be fine if that was the whole game, was everyone had to go into cyberspace and do this stuff. But then
yeah, but
I think that would be too narrow of a genre.
And if the other players aren't hackers, then someone is going to get bored by that.
Yeah, so you just do it where, okay, what do you want to do? I want to hack the door open. Okay, make a hacking check. Okay, so yeah, you hack the door, it's open now. You hack the alarm's turned off. It seems so simple to do, and I don't know why over the course of 5 or 6 Shadowrun editions they never changed that.
Those things can get interesting in a computer game, but
yeah, if you're by yourself,
different.
That's great.
Yeah,
it's a one-player thing, or if you somehow did a almost like an MMO thing where a player could be doing his hacking thing while everyone else is going through doing other things in the cyberpunk dungeon environment, then it would be fine as well. But no, not when you're like doing a role-playing game and okay, everyone, he's got to do his thing. Half an hour later, okay, well, that was a fun session. You guys sat around and did nothing.
Yeah, it's not easy to do that in a tabletop role-playing game.
No. Unless you had like 2 GMs or something, which you can barely find one sometimes. I don't know how you're gonna.
That's right. Well, I have I have a problem even with players, not just game masters. The game master, I am the game master, so I don't have a problem with that. But sometimes.
Are you a forever game master?
Yeah, I'm going to be a player soon, I think. And I think I'm not really sure, but yeah, probably. But it will be just a few game sessions, 2 or 3, I think. The last time I played, I think it was The Witcher, right?
Yes.
Okay, and it was 2 years ago.
Probably.
Wow.
And there was that small campaign that we did of what is that game based on Miami Vice.
Oh yeah.
But that was very short.
No, that's just a couple of game sessions. Yeah.
They didn't count.
That's it. You are also a forever game master, or you get to play?
I get to play like when my kids have come up with random dungeons, which they are about what I expect for their age. They're very. We were doing one where we were in a mansion of some sort, trying to gotta go there, find out what people are disappearing. And it's been a very railroady. Oh, you can't get to that door. There's a force field. We want to. Well, can we break the door down? Nope. It's weapon bounces off. Okay. And so I know the score. Because I've been there. I probably did that when I was a kid, and I know other DMs did that when they were younger, and you don't know any better. So it's been kind of a tedious experience. But when Melissa runs stuff, those are really fun. So I'm looking forward to the monkey thing. I want to know what's up with that. So all she said was, "Do you have any stats for gorillas?" I'm like, "Oh, I can do that." Okay. And then hours later, "Do you have any stats for an orangutan?" What are you doing? Trying an adventure. Okay, well, you'll see. Okay. And then she wanted me to design a poop bomb because
Makes sense.
We'll throw up poop. So I'm just really confused as to what's going to go on. But so I do get to play when the kids come up with something, which is usually very short-lived, it's usually like a 1 or 2 shot thing. So there's no really continuity there. And when Melissa runs something, it's usually just a play test and adventure. So there's some more continuity, but I don't get to play I get to go from level 1 to like level 10 or 20, whatever. It's like level 1 to maybe 5 or 6, and then we're done play testing the adventure.
It's really hard to game master for Miguel, because he's the kind of player that will always do the thing that you're not expecting. Probably because most of the time he's a GM, so he totally ruins the game. He does that one thing I wasn't counting, and then I need, what the hell am I going to do now?
No, that's good. That's good. You get better at improv.
Yeah.
I can't handle if I don't improv. I have to improv. If I plan an adventure, it's not gonna work.
No, but it's good. You get better at it the more it happens. And I'm the same way. I'll do all kinds of stuff that the wife and kids. Okay, yeah, I outsmarted my kids. Okay, of course. But Melissa, I do things that she doesn't expect all the time, and but it's good. You start to learn to roll with it.
Yeah.
Okay.
I used to plan it. I used to plan more, but right now I almost improv. Just that I stopped planning. It works better.
Yeah, it can work better if you don't. Well, I look at I plan stuff, but I never go, they're gonna do this and they're gonna do that, and then that's gonna happen, and then I'll get my big epic conclusion. It's gonna go, there's a dungeon, there's a guy there, let's see what happens. Let's see what they do. Maybe they'll burn the house down. Okay, and we'll see what happens then. Third edition campaign I was running, the players found a mind flare at some point, and I was running an adventure, and so the idea was they'd go into the room, they'd find the mind flare, things would happen. Well, one of them got an Umber Hulk skeleton, and he animated it for the necromancer. So his thought was, I'm just gonna the Umber Hulk tunnel into the wall, go up, go to the ceiling, and fall in the mind flare. We checked we found the weight of this. We like, how much does Umber Hulk weigh? Do that. Now there's a rule for dropping heavy things on creatures, so a lot of damage just splats the mind flare. I'm like, well, there goes the encounter. And I wasn't mad. I was just like that was pretty funny. You just gotta get used to that stuff with players doing things that you didn't think about, and if it ruins, I never look at it. It didn't ruin anything.
Yeah, normally now I try to plan just, and when I ran The Witcher, so I had played a computer game, so basically I just used but Miguel never remembers anything, and our other player hadn't played the game, so I just used the wiki and got the plot hooks from the game, and then I played it independent. I just throw it at the characters and at the players and see how they react.
Yeah. And that's like, people will say, what do you get, inspiration or adventures? They come from books, movies, video games. I mean, that sounds great to me. If you want to do that, then I mean, I played Witcher 3 and I played through it twice, but I probably remember most of it.
With Witcher. Yeah, I got bored with Witcher 3. There was a point when I was just playing Gwent,
Too
looking
big.
for people to play Gwent, and then I got bored. I was like, what the hell am I doing here? But I like
It's,
Witcher 2 because it was smaller and it was
yeah.
different if you depending of the size
You could
side you
finish
chose.
that in 20 hours, maybe. Probably even less than that. 15 hours, probably.
Is
Yeah.
that one on you know if that's not on the PS4, is it?
I'm not sure. Probably not.
Probably not, because that
Oh.
was smaller game.
Probably not. I can't remember that, but I don't think so. Well, maybe they did it later. I don't know. Perhaps.
It's just easier for me to play games on their PlayStation 4, so I try to focus on that.
I never had the PlayStation. I always play on the PC. I got used to it. Well, back 20 years ago, probably all the role-playing games were mostly for computers, not so much for PlayStation and other consoles. That's probably why I stuck to the computer. I
did
usually
too
play
for, like-
role-playing games.
Yeah, I played Fallout 2, Planescape Torment,
Yeah.
one of the Baldur's Gates, the first Neverwinter Nights game,
The old ones.
which
Well, they were
yeah,
remade,
the
I
good
think.
ones,
Yeah, the good ones.
the good ones. I mean, there are good games nowadays, but I just feel like they're not.
I was
They're
trying to
fewer and further in between.
I was trying to play Cyberpunk 2077, but I gave it up. Just played a couple of hours.
I heard there was too many bugs with it.
Probably not when I played it, but yeah, it didn't get my attention. I don't know.
Didn't grip you?
Probably it will need more time to get into the game. Well, it shouldn't be like that, but
It shouldn't be like that. It should get you like right from the get go.
yeah. Well,
Make you go like, oh man, I got to keep playing this.
but
Maybe in 4 hours it'll get better.
That's probably what happens. I think well, for example, I played a while ago Fallout and Fallout 3
New
and Fallout
Vegas.
and New Vegas, and those two games I started and I got stuck with it. I love them right from the start. Well, I love them before starting to play because there's an intro, and that intro is brilliant. But for both New Vegas and Fallout
And for
3.
the old ones also.
Yeah, and the old ones.
Yeah.
Directed by Ron Perlman.
I didn't really like the old ones because they are the isometric thing, and it's too.
Oh yeah. Okay.
I don't really like that, but the intros are great. They are fantastic. I would like to play that game in a different perspective. Nowadays, I don't think it's like that. I think the games are they require more time to get used to it. And
well, also they do a lot of backstory stuff that I just don't give a crap about. I just want to play the game. Like, let me play it. I'll figure out the backstory later if I even want to learn about it. But just let me play. I don't want to do a big long intro cutscene. I don't want to do a big long walking around talking to a bunch of random people who I don't know and I'm probably not going to care about. Just let me play the game.
Yeah, I think Cyberpunk was a problem. The Witcher.
Did it have you just walking around talking to people a lot? Like at the start?
Yeah, it starts with that. But I know Cyberpunk. We played the 2020, so it's not that different. The companies, the corporations are the same, and the backstory is more or less the same thing, even though it's 40 years later, 50 years later. But it seems like the same thing. Anyway, it didn't start in a interesting way.
It didn't engage. Yeah,
not engaging. The Witcher was better, I think.
It's just too long. Yeah,
Yeah,
for
it's
me
too long.
it was. Why am I diving for treasures in this river? And the treasures are not that good, and they're like in a really high level. Why am I doing this?
I just ran like I gotta go over here. Is there a monster nest? Okay, I'll do the monster nest. I'm in new parts, but like the diving for treasure. No, I don't know.
Yeah, and
I think I looked online like is there
the things
anything
that
good to
keep
get?
popping out right at you, that also annoyed me because you're going and you have all those question marks and exclamation marks to see that you have a quest there. I think that started to annoy me because then I start thinking, oh my god, so many things that I have to do, because I don't think I can choose this and I can ignore that. No, I feel like I have to play the whole game, so I think it started to annoy me.
But and that I think is a problem because the game is, you're Geralt, you got to go here and do a thing. It's time sensitive. And then just say to the Geralt would go, I gotta go find Yennefer, but first I gotta go die for treasure a bunch. That
Exactly.
if the game was just like you make your they should have just been make your own Witcher, and you start it. I forget where the Witchers come from, and then make it like an open world kind of go do your own thing, find your own quest hook things. You can go around to villages and do like there wasn't any kind of you must go find Yennefer and see about it. If they didn't have any of that, it wouldn't have seemed so weird. But because you're supposed to be trying to find these people, ooh, I'm gonna go find random monsters and have sex with random people. Like, what? I hate when they do that in all kinds of games, like they did in Assassin's Creed. They did in the Batman game, not Asylum, but there was an open city one. And people are in trouble. People are in trouble.
I played one of those, but I'm not sure which one was one of the last, I think.
Yeah, they just stop. I know why they're doing that to make the game seem longer.
Yeah, it does become longer, so you have.
Technically, it comes longer. It becomes tedious.
It's,
more people need help.
It's always the same thing. Yeah, you're doing the same thing. Crafting
And
a
you
lot.
have that thing on Witcher. I don't know if you caught it. That is really funny because there's a quest right at the beginning. There's an old lady, and she asks Geralt to clean her pot, and that just killed me.
Wait,
and
was
I was
that the
like,
third
is
one?
this for real?
Yeah,
Yes,
the
on the
third
third one. Is this for real?
I don't.
She had a greasy pot, I think.
Yes, her pot was greasy. I didn't get what that must be a joke.
It's been a while. I don't remember.
Yeah, maybe you
that.
didn't
Maybe I
run.
didn't do that one.
Maybe you didn't find her. I have a friend that also
You
did
probably
it.
know that.
Yeah, because he was joking about that. If you did it, you would remember it.
Yeah, it's a quest about the pot, a greasy pot. So yeah, strange thing. Never
I mean, if it
found.
was a joke, that would have been. I mean, if it was a joke, sure, that would have been funny.
There was really a quest.
Serious.
A small quest, but it was a side quest.
Maybe it was Polish humor.
Yeah, well, maybe. So yeah, they are Polish.
Yes. So you were talking that you are thinking about writing a sci fantasy game.
Yeah, like a post-apocalyptic, but it'd take place on Earth, but in the future changed. Based on I had this idea, I think 10 years ago, of running the Star Wars game, and I don't like in Star Wars, how there's a desert planet, and an ice planet, and a swamp planet. I get why they do that, so it's easy to remember the planets or whatever, the terrain types, and the aliens, they're all kind of the same way, so you can, that's a it's a Wookiee, or
yes, it's a tree planet, it's the Ewok,
yeah, or like that's a Wookiee, so Wookiees are like this, and that's a Gungan, and Gungans are stupid, and so I thought, what if I did like a Star Wars game that takes place on Earth, and so instead of going to like a swamp planet, it's like Georgia/Florida region of America, and instead of going to an ice planet, you just go north to you go south to Antarctica, or you go north to Canada or something like that. So I was just thinking like doing the same kind of plot of Star Wars, but take place on Earth. It was a little random idea I thought about. And then I thought about, well, what if I did like a post-apocalyptic game, kind of like, I think I was playing Gamma World. I was reading Gamma World at that point. And I just wanted to do the Delver's version mechanic of that, with some elements that I would take from like Nier Automata and maybe even Borderlands, where like you can actually additive print things, like vehicles. And also, if you probably haven't read the manga, it's looks like Blame, but it's pronounced Blom. There's a lot of stuff I was going to cobble together to do this weird futuristic world where instead of like zombies, people would be infected with a nanite virus that turns their bodies into like machine parts. So you'd have like kind of like a Terminator type thing, and then you'd have technomancers that could control them. Their towers would basically be big antenna things that they would use to transmit instructions. There'd be satellites in space, and that's how the wizard, quote unquote, wizard class would operate. Would be they would access these satellites that would let them, like instead of a lightning bolt, it'd be like a laser out of space. So they could use them to generate digital constructs. And so something I thought about, it's something that it's still very much in the planning phase, but just my own little take on a
Yeah, that sounds
post-apocalypse.
interesting.
And then there would be Sonics in there, and there'd be like hacking stuff, but it wouldn't have any hacking in the game. It'd be more like, oh, you're gonna hack something. Okay, you access a satellite or this machine life. You can hack into that and control them. So instead of having control undead, hack these constructs.
It's easier
But
to
it's
avoid
still
hacking in
fun.
a post-apocalyptic, right?
It's what?
It's easier to avoid the hacking in a post-apocalyptic world than
Well,
in
it's mostly if I do it far enough in the future and I do post-apoc, I don't have to worry about like,
yeah.
And it
are
would be
places in the right spot, or
it would be really the magic, because if you have technomancers, then yes, so hacking will be the magic.
it's the magic. And so I was going to do like a casting check thing, a quote unquote cast check, because the wizard class, you're hacking to the satellites. If you fail, they have intrusion countermeasures, so they would actually do something to attack you, to like they would shoot at you or send stuff down to fight you. So it's kind of how some games do a miscast thing, where something goes wrong with your spell. And then for the healer class, it was going to be, they would have these nanomachines, like they have a device implanted in them, and that's if you play the healing class, they always have this thing that generates these machines that they can touch people to transfer it over to heal your wounds over time. It would be a slow thing, it would be an instantaneous thing. So I had ways I can get all these common fantasy archetypes to work in the context of a post-apocalyptic science fantasy, as in the technology isn't really scientifically explained, it just works kind of. But then you can have laser guns and all kinds of like power armor robots.
Yeah,
It was
I
kind
like
of like
that.
a riff thing.
I
but
don't like hard sci-fi, because it gets too technical. Like, I don't like hard sci-fi books. For instance, what William Gibson did in Neuromancer, it didn't explain anything. And I remember the first time I read the book, I didn't understand anything. But then I got used to it. Some sci-fantasy, some science fiction is too, it explains everything. And also some games, right? They have a really technical and hard, like
Yeah,
Traveler. They explain how long it takes to travel to one planet to another one.
I don't want to do that, because I don't, that's not the point of it. The point of it is just, I want to do a game where it's in the future and you have lasers and robots and maybe psychic powers. Although in this one, I was going to have the psychic just be lightning based, because the brain, electrical impulses, so it's mostly lightning type stuff. Limited what the psychic can do, maybe some telekinetic stuff, but just you're exploring ruins and dungeon environments, but you're shooting things with lasers now, or you're digitizing a like a vehicle, like instead of D&D, you got Phantom Steed, you summon a magic horse. This one you 3D print up a car and drive that around. Just that. I just want to do that. And I don't want to do hard sci-fi, because I don't want to research how this crap works and get it figured out.
I hate that too. I'm not a scientist, not an engineer, and I'm not interested in that also. Never
Well, I
was.
also don't want to try to predict what we had in the 90s. What we can do now is so wildly different. Like I remember in Rifts, you could have a computer and it had like a bunch of megabytes of data, and at the time you're like, oh my god, that laptop's so advanced. Now it's crap.
And then there was Cyberpunk 2020, where you still had the phone booths and you access the internet with the phone and all that. So no, not really. That's not how it developed in a different way. There wasn't Wi-Fi, for example.
Yeah, and this thing I wouldn't even explain. This is how it works. How do they digitally construct things? They just do. So just roll with it. That's not the point.
Yeah, it's better. In 20 years, people won't look at that and think, "Hey, stupid. It looks stupid."
That's all you can do? How primitive.
So what else you have planned?
I got the Call of Cthulhu, Cthulhu, Cowboys and Cthulhu. It's a Weird West thing that I'm also working on. Probably gonna do that one first, because that's further along than the post-apoc thing. That's just because I want to do a game where cowboy type game, because I never played one before, but I like the idea of it. And you just shoot dark, young, and deep ones and stuff. And
Is there any Lovecraftian cowboy game? I can't remember. Well, that Deadlands, it's not right like that, right? It's
yeah,
just
it's
Weird
it's
West.
a Weird West,
Yeah.
but it's not that
Love-
specific thing.
Yeah.
And then we got like adventure. It's like I'm gonna convert over our Dungeon World stuff. I have a setting called Ashes After Ragnarok, where it takes place right after Ragnarok, and so you're basically people living in this, you know, a Midgard that's been devastated by the conflict. So there's like dead god corpses lying around, the world serpents. This is draped over the land. It's like a rotting mountain range, and there's like some kind of ship in Norse mythology where it's made out of like fingernails or toenails that brought like undead. So that's going to be part of it. But it's basically what it is. It's Norse post-apocalypse.
That was something you published for Dungeon
No,
World?
that's something I'm
You're doing now, right?
working
now.
on now.
Okay.
I've done a couple of playtest adventures in there, and that one is just mostly I need to look into how like Norse magic worked, like rune casting type stuff.
So that is mentioned in your blog, right? In the works. Ashes After Ragnarok, A Sundered World.
Yeah, Sundered World is something I did do for Dungeon World. That I ran that as a 4th edition campaign, and people really liked that. So I made that as a Dungeon World campaign setting, which because it's Dungeon World, I'm not happy with the way it turned out because Dungeon World things are very clunky and convoluted and difficult to work with. But I made it work more or less. But you know, D20 thing would be so much easier to do, and I do want to do that. That's a Sundered World is in the 4th edition default setting. The idea was that gods and primordials, they fought and the gods won, and the primordials were killed or sealed away. Sundered World is the gods and primordials fought and both sides lost, and so all the different planes and realities collapsed in and made one big like screwed up plane. So it's like kind of in the astral plane. So there's floating islands, there's floating dead gods. You can, you know, the hells are drifting around. There's heavenly domains that are decaying because the gods that run them are dead. So they're starting to fade away. They're dissolving. And angels are going insane because they have no gods tell them what to do. So it's kind of like if you played Spelljammer.
No.
Okay. Well, the idea is that you have these Spelljammer. It was like D&D in space. This is kind of like that. You have ships that you traverse.
I heard about it. I remember that.
Yeah. So that's kind of what it is. It's post-apocalyptic Spelljammer mixed with some Planescape elements.
So you are working on a lot of projects at the same time, right? How do you manage that?
Oh, it's easy. I work on one, then when I get bored, I work on a different one. Or when I run into a block. So like right. Well, I'm burnt out on trying to figure this out, or I can't think of a way to make it work out. So rather than waste too much, because I found that if I stop working on something, it kind of lets my brain rest or recharge. But then I also found if I just keep jumping from thing to thing, I don't have to like not get anything done at all. I can just shift gears and do something different. And so sometimes that's just me going, okay, I'm gonna draw a picture. I'll just draw a picture. I'll draw a thing. And so I have a lot of stuff I just keep going and going. But the mechanic design is the hardest part because I don't know, you know, should a spell do this? Is that too much? Is that duration too long? Is that effect too limiting? I got some players that'll tell me that sucks. I'm not going to take that. I wouldn't waste a talent slot on that, or that favor cost is too high. You need to knock that down or whatever. So I think I told Miguel, you know, if you read through the book, tell me what you hate about it. I need to know what you hate about it, because that's the only way that is the primary way that like me and the wife, how we learn from this stuff. Like with our Dungeon World stuff, we learn a lot about people saying this move is bullshit, or you should do this or that or whatever. And I know it's a lot of creators, we take criticism very well. It's helped us grow in leaps and bounds over the years. So if you look through it, if you do, definitely tell me what you hate about it.
Okay. I will.
And then I'm not going to be like,
No, I think it makes
"Yeah,
sense.
yeah,
Yeah,
you don't know
Yes.
my genius."
yeah,
I'm
it
gonna be
makes
like,
sense.
Because you may think people will be seeing it from a totally different perspective
Yeah.
that you probably didn't thought about.
precisely. And also, if something's not even things you hate, but like if you read a section, you say, "I don't understand this. This needs clarification."
Yeah.
I want to
Yeah,
hear
that
that
is very
too.
important. Yeah.
Where is the section on this thing? You don't have this in here. Like I need to know those things too.
The only thing I browsed for today was really the characters, because that's always the most interesting part for me.
The
What kind of
races or
characters you can
classes.
play, exactly, the races and the classes. That is always the part that I try to start with, unless
So
when you don't have a setting. So that's what I started with.
and any thoughts?
No, I thought it was interesting that we got to play kobolds. I never played a lot of Dungeons and Dragons, but for me, kobolds are monsters that you kill. So
Yeah,
it was interesting
and
to see that you can play it.
At the
well,
beginning, right?
they're
Those
not
are the easy ones.
they're not D&D kobolds. They're
Mm.
Germanic
Okay.
kobolds, which
Because I
they
saw they
were,
don't have, yeah, they have a human face, so they're like
yeah,
Uh,
not a monster.
no,
Yeah,
because
those
they
look
weren't
like
really,
dogs, right? The D&D kobolds look like dogs.
well, they looked like dogs at first, and then they turn into, for some
Okay.
reason, little dragon people in third edition.
I
don't know
remember
why.
them as dogs.
Yeah, I do. Well, I remember them both ways because I played second edition, and Tony DiTerlizzi had a good picture in the monster manual, and then the D&D arcade game they looked like dogs, and then in third edition, oh poof, they're dragons. And I don't remember if they actually explained why.
They just changed. Went from
But the
mammals. I
to,
never. Is there a real kobold? Well, not real.
yeah,
But
it's a Germanic, spirit thing. That's what I use.
thing.
Because part of when I was in Delvers is I was looking at the monsters, going, I wonder what this is like in mythology if it had a mythological inspiration like the ghoul. And so what I would do is I'd look at the ghoul. What can the ghoul do in real mythology? Is it more interesting than the D&D one? Okay, I'm going to do that then. So
That was actually
mythological ghouls.
one of the questions that I had for you, but I forgot about that because we started talking about your races. So if they were inspired from D&D and like taken from there, or if you've taken another inspirations. Because since I don't know D&D that well, I don't know all the races.
Some of them. So Cambion. So D&D has a tiefling race that's half demon. They used to have you roll a table for random physical features because the idea was, well, you have some kind of demonic ancestry for whatever reason, and that could be like a tail, cloven hooves, little bat wings, or whatever. They got rid of that, and so tieflings are just kind of like one appearance. They have one set of abilities. We went back to I was Kami because Kami, I found out it's like a half breed, and we tied them to sins. So if you play Cambion, you choose a sin that gives you an ability.
Cambion is a better name than a Elfling.
Well, it's also it's basically what a tiefling's supposed to be. I don't know where
Yes.
tiefling came from or why they did that.
Cambrian is a half demon, right?
Yeah,
Yes,
Cambion is a half demon.
the F-Demon.
And also broadly, we associate most demons in our game with some kind of sin. There's a gluttonous, slothful cherubim. So that one's has ways to make your characters tired or just you fall asleep and start wasting away. Dwarves are dwarves. Cthon, that was initially supposed to be our take on a Genasi. I didn't want to just do copy the whole D&D thing where all the elemental things were just they're a fire person, water person. So they're made from like a living stone. They have an elemental essence, and that gives you an ability. But they don't always look human though. They can look. There's the picture of the monk is more like an obelisk. So that's you can do whatever you want with the appearance on that. Just they're rock people, and they were based on Genasi, but not really. Elves, we just went with I think Germanic elves or Norse elves, but D&D elves kind of look the same. But we give them different abilities. If you're a light elf, radiant resistance to like sunlight damage type stuff, and dark elves, you can see in the dark better. Humans are humans. Isham, these are based off of, I want to say, Hebrew angels. They're the least powerful angel, and this was because D&D had a Deva or an Asimar, which was Asmars were half angels, Devas were like some kind of angelic thing. We just decided, okay, well, what are actual angels that are supposed to have existed? We'll go with at least, so if you're an Isham, you're basically a messenger angel. Kobold, Germanic kobold, so that's nothing like the D&D kobold. You can 3 types.
I'm looking at it right now. It's
Obviously
not.
Yes.
Kytherin was not supposed to be a Warforged analog, but it kind of is. They were from Sundered World, where the backstory was that there was a machine primordial that would try to make an army to kill the gods, and that was based off of 3rd edition's Clockwork Horror. I renamed and redescribed them, but so Kytherin is supposed to be like a machine race that was made as an experiment. And Delvers, it's kind of the same thing, although they're not really implied to be necessarily made by primordials, but you can use them for whatever machine thing you want. Tarkon was a half dragon, or they're not half dragons, and they're not dragon born. They're the result of a primordial fighting a god, and then the blood from their, because that was a Greek thing. Sometimes blood would spawn things. The Furies were spawned by intermixing the blood, and these are kind of the same thing. So they're basically, but they have draconic features because of the primordial that spawned them. Or was it because they fought? In Sundered World, they were also supposed to be from Bahamut's blood, but Bahamut may not exist here, so I just went with primordials and gods. So that's their whole basis, and that's why they have all the fury, anger, fire stuff.
Yep.
So I guess you could say a lot of these are, some of them are D&D because they're in D&D, but we changed the abilities. Some of them, a few are D&D had an analog we wanted to use, but we wanted to change it up, and some of them are just things we invented.
Yeah, no complaints about the characters.
Yeah. Well,
I know some people might not like, oh, you can play an angel in this game, and it's,
you can play whatever you want. You don't have to play the angel. So
yeah.
I'll have to take a closer look. Right now, it's just well, it looks good. That definitely it looks good. The layout is nice, and the art is nice too. So not
yeah, but it's always the first thing that I look is what.
Yeah.
So what do we get to play on this game?
It's got all the standard D&D classes, which if you don't play D&D, you wouldn't know. But the only thing I don't like, not because we designed it bad. I mean, if you play D&D, the monk sucks. We did a good monk, but it's, to me, weird that you have all the pseudo-European stuff, and then, oh, there's a monk thrown in for like no reason. So, 2nd edition, we're gonna move the monk, but
yeah,
I mean,
because
for now,
there's not a lot of difference between the monk and the cleric if you go on a European tradition, right?
Oh no, this is Asian tradition. This is the kung fu monk guy.
Yes.
He can do all kinds of crazy stuff, but he's just strange being in there.
Yeah.
Hey, I'm the one Japanese type thing in here. The whole book.
Also, it's cultural appropriation, right?
Oh yeah. Well, I mean, wait till I get the Asian one. I'm probably gonna call Asian Dungeons and Delvers or Oriental Dungeons and Delvers. So it'll be like OD&D or AD&D, which was the abbreviation for OD&D, original D&D, and advanced D&D.
Yeah.
But now I'm gonna appropriate the crap out of that. And I have an adventure that I don't want to reveal what it is, but I'm going to offend everyone with it.
That's always good. That's a good starting point. Offend people.
Well, I mean, people should, get a thicker skin or stop caring about stupid shit.
Yeah.
Really, these are games.
Yeah, I mean, if someone was like, if someone hated my game, I'd be like, well, why do you hate it? And if they're like, well, I just hate it for whatever, I'd be like, okay, and I wouldn't care. I don't know why.
It has elves, and I'm offended by elves. It's cultural appropriation, right?
Okay, whatever. Okay.
You're culturally, but I like to think about the Oriental games. That means that only Oriental people can play Oriental games.
I
don't think they care about that, but anyway.
Well, I heard a lot of Asian people, they like, they like this stuff where, the culture is being shared. Other people are immersing themselves in it.
That's normally what people, that's what normally normal people feel like that, exactly.
Do. And if someone does like a game where it's like America, but everything's all exaggerated, like we're all fat and lazy and stupid, whatever, I wouldn't, I'd be like, it depends on I do it. I might think it's funny, or I just might not care. I don't know why people, how dare you do this now? I'm going to cancel you.
I remember it was some years ago, probably a lot of time ago, that there was some people were offended because of a Nintendo game that Super Mario appeared with a Mexican hat. And so a lot of people are offended in the Mexicans' behalf. And what they were saying was, no, we think it's totally cool that Super Mario is appearing dressed like a Mexican. We like it.
Yeah, white people were upset. Mexicans were like, "What?
Yes.
Shut up! This is awesome, Mexican Mario."
Exactly.
Like, they thought it was great, and no, yeah, it's basically white people that are pretending to be angry because they want people to go, "Oh, you're such a good, virtuous person. Thank you for being." And but then you have people saying, "Shut up! I like this."
And being
And then they
offended by other culture in place of other cultures, that is white privilege.
Yeah, well, it's white people problems. Like, you have no problems, so you must invent problems to be upset about. And instead of going, I don't have any problems, and if they would spend half the time faking offense, doing something constructive, they could get so much done.
I remember
But
when
then
people didn't have to come up with things to be offended by. In the 90s, well, okay, we were okay. There are less problems now. That's good. Eh? I think it's good.
well, it's good, but then some people want to be mad
Get
about
bored.
something, and so they got to just invent. Yeah, they're bored, and I don't know why they're bored. You could write, anyone could, they could write a book, they could learn to draw, they could learn to program. All this stuff is free to figure out how to do all this stuff. They could do so many things. They just choose not to.
Complain. They should
They choose to complain because that's easy. You can piss them on about all kinds of stupid stuff. So that's what they want to do, because they don't have to learn anything. They don't have to risk failure trying to find success. It's I mean, at one point I might have thought that's kind of depressing, but now I find it kind of funny and disappointing.
It's still depressing, I think.
These people that do this, they're so miserable and mean that I can't be depressed by them anymore, because they are the architects of their own misery.
Yep. Well, in a way, I started writing role-playing games because of that. Because I was perfectly happy buying commercial stuff and playing it, and just enjoying it. But then the wokeness started ruining the hobby, and I said, okay, now I have to do something about it. I'm going to write my own stuff.
Yep.
So I have to thank them for that.
Well, yeah, and that's good, because it pushed you to go,
probably it would have pushed me before, but I didn't really look for small games. I was playing the really, the most known one, not D&D, but other stuff for a long time. But then the wokeness got to those to the commercial games too, and it was a tipping point for me.
I think a lot of people are hitting a tipping point, which is great, because and the thing is, I don't even care. Oh, well, D&D goes away. I don't care if D&D goes away. The game that I made is for me to play. I'm sharing people because some people might like it, but if no one likes it, I don't give a shit, because I made it for me primarily, because I want to have this game to keep playing. And I would say that's whatever you're doing, don't do it because you want to get lots of money or you want to get lots of attention. Just do the game that you always wanted for yourself, and other people will probably like it. They'll like it because, oh, hey, this is better than what's out, or they'll want to mine it for ideas or inspiration, or maybe if you make it look pretty enough, they'll buy it just to put it on their shelf.
Yeah, it's not an industry to get rich. It won't be easy.
I'm saying that shouldn't be your primary motivation. I think that's where you get these people that they push out really cheap stuff as fast as possible, riding the woke bandwagon to get lots of money, because that's what they care about, and they want to cut all the corners.
Yeah, right now those are making a lot of money.
Well, yeah.
Last year there were several Kickstarters. I can't remember most of them, and probably the people who backed them can't remember them either. But I remember a couple of them.
If they ever come out.
Yeah. Well, there was the most recent I can remember, Queers, and the other about the disabilities and DICE or whatever.
And there was, how was it called, that one that was empowered by queer rage?
Yeah, I can't remember that one.
Yeah.
It's something about
which one?
Gay Mecca.
They're
giant mechs made of
mecha.
flesh.
Yeah,
Yeah, something like.
empowered by queer rights.
But
Be-
again,
It was
because
written there.
the name of the game
I don't
wasn't
remember.
had nothing
Yeah.
to do with that. I think that's
because you can't take like a Macross 2, a Palladium game, and just say everyone play a gay person. Yeah, that's too hard to do.
Yeah,
You gotta
but-
make your own game because
the-
that's where okay, it's for money. It's just for
but
money.
those
because
mechs
what
are made
they're
of flesh, or so they are different. They are I don't know what they are. Creatures probably. They are riding creatures. I think.
But
I'm not-
you could reskin this stuff so easily
Yeah,
to
you can.
Yeah.
like
But
D&D,
you're
but
gonna do a
everyone's gay.
Kickstarter and get a lot of money.
Yeah,
Yeah.
That's obviously why they're doing it. They don't because everything they make could be done with an existing game. Just say, oh, play Fate, but everyone's gay. Play Call of Cthulhu, but everyone's gay. That doesn't need its own game.
Not
But
really.
they just want their own game and they want the money. So hey,
Yeah, this one,
is-
this queers game, it's a superior game. I think it's a superheroes.
I think that's the idea.
yeah,
They're all gay.
But they are gay. Well,
Of course.
they aren't gay. They are queer, which is a different thing. They are heterosexuals or gender whatever, non-binary something. They aren't gay. That's old stuff. That's out of fashion.
That's for old people like
Yeah,
us.
lesbians and gays. That's something. No one wants.
You can't just be gay now. You gotta
Yeah,
have
Yeah.
a laundry list of weird made up
so
terms and
90s.
genders and pronouns.
Being gay is so 90s.
And very mainstream.
Yeah, it got too normalized. So they had so people that did it for because I knew a guy who he at least he claimed to be gay. I'm guessing he was, but he did it. He clearly did it because he thought we lived in Portland, which is a weird place to try to like I'm gay. Isn't that so interesting and amazing? It's like we were in Portland, which there's a lot of gay people in Portland, but he did it like largely for attention. He wanted you to know that he was gay, and it was like it was a constant thing, and that apparently was too normalist. Now it's like, okay, what are we going to do now? Now that being gay is not interesting. You got to be a trainee now. That's got to be your new thing, and you got to keep escalating it until you get more and more absurd.
Do you use Twitter?
Yeah.
Those well, that's the place for the woke. And when you look at the names of the people, and then you have the rainbow flag and the Black Lives Matter flag, and all those pronouns and the genders and whatever. It's strange.
Twitter is a place that I can I can keep up with some current event stuff, but also I apparently did something. I interacted with some people on the tabletop RPG topic, and now it keeps recommending it for me, and I just see the craziest people.
It's
like,
awful. That topic is awful.
It is awful. Well,
they only recommend shit.
yeah. There's one person where they're like their bio is they are a bisexual disaster lesbian, and my thought was, if you're bisexual, that means you go both ways.
Yeah,
How
you're not
could
a
you be
lesbian.
gay? How could you be gay
Yeah.
but bi? Like
Yeah,
that
it's not
doesn't.
makes any sense.
And then, like,
Sometimes they are asexual and bisexual also.
like,
Yeah, asexual and something else. It's well, okay. You're gay and
that's
asexual.
like, I'm full but hungry. Those are two exclusionary things. That's one or the other. You can't. And then my pronoun, they're she, her, they. Which
yeah,
is it? Which is,
it gets very confusing.
well, I feel like
No.
it's confusing on purpose,
Yeah, probably.
or
You
they
have
don't even know what that whole woke thing. It's an apocalypse world system. No one really understands
Yeah.
how it works.
But you buy the books anyway.
I don't buy the books.
No,
I
they
haven't bought
buy
it.
the
They buy
books.
the
Oh, they
books
buy the
anyway.
books. Well, I feel like a lot of them have parents that foot the bill for a lot of their stuff.
Yeah,
so
probably. Someone buys the books. They can't.
For some reason, I don't know why.
Now, well, I go on Twitter sometimes, but I don't really interact that much. And I was looking at it now, and I follow you, and you follow me. So
Yeah.
I don't know if we had any interaction because I don't pay much attention to Twitter. I try to go
I-
there, but
I will, again, current event type stuff with, things that are going on in America. It's been useful for that and to some degree, but then if I find something really crazy, I screenshot it and I blog about it,
Yeah.
because on Twitter they'll block you for like the dumbest stuff. I remember I said I've been banned from Twitter for a day because I think I said retard. But then some other people will say retard and they don't get banned for it. So I don't know what the rules are. So I thought, okay, if I want to
You aren't woke, so you can't say anything like that.
I don't even remember the context was someone probably said something retarded, but so rather than I'll screenshot, take it over here where I won't get banned, and then just say whatever. And also I don't have to limit what I'm saying to 200 characters. So
yeah,
I can go into really extensive detail. So it's fun to mine that stuff. And like Pundit will do stuff on there, Avenger does stuff on there. So I can keep up with other things. And so I saw the D&D art thread with the crappy centaur and the weird spiky ghoul guy and all kinds of just a horrible art.
I usually go to Facebook groups and discover those things that other people have already found out.
Yeah, the conservative OSR group is
that one is very good for finding stupid woke stuff. They're always making fun of it. And then I copy it and then I put it in the red room. So
well, I'm on the red room.
Yeah, you are.
Okay.
Sometimes I also go on Twitter searching for those things, but I don't always find them. It's not. I usually don't follow woke people because I get annoyed by them.
You get triggered.
Yeah, I get triggered.
I laugh. I got to point and laugh at these people. That's what you do. You mock them, and they don't know how to handle that. They'll get angry about it.
Or if you don't get angry with them and you ask him questions again and you're really calm, they can get you upset. They also normally disappear.
That sometimes happens. I sometimes get into, but not on Twitter because I can't write only those three lines or something. But on Facebook, sometimes I get into some arguments when I'm in the mood for that with some wokesters. Usually they come shooting and but well, I'm not what they expecting to find because I'm not a conservative. I'm an atheist, and I'm well, I'm not a traditionalist at all, and I'm not American, and so I'm a very different person from what they're expecting to find. And then it annoys them and surprises them at the same time. So it's interesting to see
and then they block
their reaction. Yeah, and then block me.
That's all they can do.
Yeah, and they always try to be nice, polite. Well, not nice, but polite. Politeness always annoys them too.
Yeah, because what I found out their main arguing tactics, we'll say, they like to shotgun you with all kinds of questions and things, hoping that you'll respond to as many of those as you will, and then they want to cherry pick the one that they can defeat. So what you do is they blast you with like 10 things or whatever. You go with the first one, you address that one, and you stick with that one until, because usually they'll get angry about it, because they want you to basically spread yourself out, wear yourself out, trying to respond to all these different things all at once. And it's a really amateur strategy. So I just go, okay, you just accused me like 5 things, or you said 5 things, or whatever. Take it from the top. Let's do this one. What about blah, blah, blah? No. We're this is the one we're focusing on right now. We'll get to those other ones, and they'll get worn out. They wear themselves out.
Yeah, it's too intensive.
And if you ask a question, they don't answer it. I just asked the question again. Well, what I asked was you're something white, blah blah blah. What I asked was and then again they wear themselves out. Because they're used to arguing purely off of irrational emotion. So if you stay focused and you do things in order, they can't handle that. They're not used to that. They want you to go F you, blah 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 blah, and then they can go, oh, this person's so violent and mean. Oh, I'm gonna block you. You don't want to have a conversation, and then they'll screenshot it, show to their friends, like, look at this irrational person. So just be focused, take it in order. It drives them nuts.
Well, they block you anyway.
They'll block you anyway, but the point is that they have nothing to screenshot to brag with their
Yes.
friends. And if anyone else catches the conversation, they're going to go, well, that guy's a nut bar, if they don't realize it already. But this is it's evidence that you were just asking a question. Why couldn't he answer this very simple question?
It's probably not a good thing to answer questions because they can say something that they aren't supposed to, and it's probably difficult even for them to keep up with what they can say and what they can't say.
Yeah, well, that's
So
the
it's
other thing.
changing.
Also, you could also trip them up to where they'll say something, and if they screenshot it, someone might go, because I mean they're always waiting to jump on each other. They're always waiting for one of them to step out of the line.
Yeah, that's why they're always canceling each other. That's
also great.
Yeah, that's the good part of it. But I've been accused of several things from people I don't know, from nowhere.
And they don't know you.
And they don't know me. Yeah, I've been accused of it. And I'm not famous, so well, I'm just a guy. It happens. So are we forgetting something?
Oh, I don't think so.
I don't think so.
No, I think we covered
I can't remember anything.
the basis at least. And a little more.
Well, we've been at it for a couple hours.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's easy, right? You just start talking and
Yes.
The time has passed.
When we're talking about role-playing games, it seems that it always happens.
Hey, just keep it going. I'm gonna message you guys because you mentioned horror stuff. I'm always wanting to get hear about new horror movies. I like the genre, so I'll bug you guys about that later. And also that kids game that was mentioned. I forgot the name of it.
Little Monster Detectives. I'm gonna show you. I'm probably do a review about it for the channel at some point, because I think for people that have kids and are interested in that is kind of cute, and it has a really nice art.
Yeah, our reviews will probably be mostly of horror games and horror movies also. So
well, it's good because it's a nice it's a focused niche, so I know where to go to maybe chance upon some new stuff to watch or read or even play.
Yeah, that's what also the Red Room is mostly about that. That's
how it started, actually.
We don't really have a team, but well, it started as a Facebook page about cinema and not just
and
cinema.
Books and computer games. Not that much role playing because I don't think we were playing at the time.
No, it was 9 or 10 years ago, and we weren't playing at the time. So, but always focused on dark subjects because it's our horror and the supernatural and
weird stuff.
Yeah, it's our favorite subjects.
It's my favorite genre too, so that's great. And I know you're saying you were going to work on you're working on your own games and stuff. So if you want to bounce ideas, I'll be more than happy to look through what you're doing. I don't know if you know how to do layout stuff, but I can do layout stuff too. So whatever you're making, just let me know if you need help with it.
I'll send you a copy of the ones I've published.
I think it's published already.
I
think it's published already.
Yes, I've been publishing, well, not for a long time. But
they're not really games; they're scenarios. So
yeah, that's good.
Oh, okay.
Well, I thought. No, they are for Postmortem Studios games.
Okay.
Anyway, I'll show you anyway.
Okay. Are you gonna work on your own standalone RPGs though?
Not that well. At least I'm not planning on that. More like settings. I don't like handling rules. I'm not good at that. And I'm not also going to pick up other rules, probably. I don't know, probably in the future. I started last year, about a year ago. And I started with scenarios, 3 Giallo scenarios, and then a sci-fi scenario. Well, not a scenario, more setting than a scenario. And something based on Twin Peaks, small setting. And now, I don't know. I'm not sure. There's something written, a few things already written, which will be published this year. After that, I'm not really sure what will come next. But for the moment, nothing that has rules in it, and so no standalone game for now.
Okay. Okay. Well, if you do work on that, do something like that, let me know.
Okay.
I think it's really
help out
hard to
however I
come
can.
out with the different mechanics or with the mechanic and test it and make sure if it's even. I think that's the hardest part on building a game,
Yeah.
at least for us.
Yeah, because even some things that you work on, you think, oh, this is a good idea. It works really, but in play, it's like, oh, holy crap, this is horrible. Oh, what was I thinking? So
Yeah, and then
yeah,
I don't think I will go into that because I never liked the mechanics and rules and all that. I just I like to play
well,
other people's rules.
that's where I want to get my adventures done I got to do the mechanic stuff first. And I don't like that either. I just want to I got this idea. I want players to suffer through my my horrible scenarios where they get tortured and beaten up and stuff. So I feel you there. Not wanting to design a game from the ground up.
Yeah, it's always better. People like to buy a new game. It's different from buying. People buy scenarios, but it's a different perspective. People get more, and a lot of the designers also prefer to do the rules and all that mechanics, but it takes more time too.
Yeah.
You have to test it and not just write a story.
Because again, even if you write an adventure, this adventure is great. People play through it like, oh, you didn't. This isn't explained properly, or that doesn't make any sense, or it doesn't work out the way you thought. So
yeah, it can happen.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's wrap it up.
Okay.
Thank you for coming.
Well, thanks for having me.
And we'll be in touch.
Yeah,
Yeah.
let's stay in touch. Okay, David, have a nice week.
All right, you too.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye.